2022. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get started, we're going to have a moment of silence. We've lost two dedicated town residents, former Fire Chief Ray Eaton and Arnold Rockland Weare, both dedicated many years of service to the town. I'd like to take a moment of silence to remember that. Okay, thank you. And I'd also like to give well wishes to two of our board members who are under the weather, John and Sherry, speedy recoveries. So they're both just under the weather, COVID and everything else in the area. So flu season, you know the deal. So, all right, brings us to our public hearing. At 6:30 to hear public comment, public testimony and comment on the restructured hospitality rental ordinance. Copies were available on the town website. And we have a few here. I see Bruce here, so I'm going to recognize Tony Sawyer. You want to come up for a minute? Thank you.
Rick, do you want to make
That's code enforcement.
what we're here for? Can I make a statement what we're here for?
Oh, this is the revised hospitality rental ordinance. Again, this is only, this is the second hearing now.
It's a courtesy hearing.
On the revised ordinance, and this will go to the voting body. We are only here to make recommendation for it to go to the warrant, so.
Thank you. I appreciate the board's time for the process that this has been going on. It's been going on for several months now. During this process, we've taken several suggestions from public hearings and made some positive changes in regards to the hospitality ordinance. We feel confident that we've addressed every issue and concern. This town ordinance provides a minimum amount of governing to ensure that all life safety concerns are addressed for our renters. We ask the Board of Selectmen to move this town ordinance to the voters for consideration. That's all I have. Thank you.
Tony? The floor is open. Anybody want to speak? No?
Hi, Tom Flaherty, Sunrise Lane. I want to throw a question out there that I don't know if you can address it or if somebody else wants to address it, but just for consideration. There's a lot of legal speak in this ordinance, like most of them, and I'm a little confused on one point. I just want to throw the question out for consideration by whoever can or wants to answer it. It says that the authority for this ordinance is RSA 48A. It also says that it is subject to any, I guess, entity or establishment that is subject to the New Hampshire rooms and meals tax. If I look at RSA 48A, it states that an ordinance cannot be created to impose any restrictions on vacation rentals or short-term rentals. And the confusion I have is that I'm guessing that some vacation rentals or maybe short-term rentals are subject to rooms and meals taxes. And, I don't understand the law completely, but it seems like there's a conflict there that the ordinance is for establishments that are subject to the rooms and meals. It's also based on RSA 48A that says you can't impose ordinances on vacation and short-term rentals. So in my level of knowledge of the law, that just seems like a contradiction to me. So I know that town council has probably spent time looking at this, but I would ask that conflict be resolved if there is in fact a conflict. I'm not sure. So just wanted to put that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Don Clow. In general, I am in favor of an ordinance that would protect renters with safety and sanitation regulations and regular inspections and so forth. I, kind of following up what Tom said, to me, the first paragraph particularly very confusing. I think that it needs editing. It's the concept I kind of get, but I think it's very difficult to understand that first paragraph. There are other areas too that could use some better clarification, but I think right off that first paragraph is, to me, hard to understand, and I've read it through several times. So my recommendation would be to review it for clarity, the whole thing, and I emphasize the first paragraph because it kind of hits me right away.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else?
Hi, Nick Fox, East Shore Drive. So along those same lines of the question, I kind of want to give the history of this ordinance. At first, it was proposed that the town would not allow short-term rentals of any kind. That was even tried to be passed by board members out in the parking lot, but that was shot down. Then it got brought to a town meeting speaking about rental ordinance. And they were saying it was including everybody. And the premise of that was health and safety. And that was for all rentals. That was for people renting to their mother-in-laws, that was renting to their sons from college in a basement or a room. Didn't matter if it was 1 day or 1 year, all rentals were included because of their health and safety. Now this new ordinance has changed, the name has even changed, it's now called Hospitality Rental Ordinance. So now we're specifically targeting folks that rent using an online organization that actually takes the lodging tax out of their rental and sends it to the state. Is that correct? Are you guys not answering? We're just talking?
It's public testimony and comment.
So you guys aren't answering questions?
That's correct.
Okay, so the new thing is called Hospitality Rental Ordinance. So the premise of this entire thing started health and safety. There were 2 complaints to the town, back to the planning board meetings over the last winter. No complaints since, except for the one couple, which I feel for them with their issue with their neighbor. I went by the police department and checked if they'd have any health and safety calls regarding any rental, including short-term rentals, and their answer was no. So, because you aren't going to answer questions, I'll just ask it anyway. Hypothetically, I think the town would love to see, at least I would as a taxpayer, what one specific call that was health and safety regarding this ordinance. Because this is the push, is health and safety. Yet the actual complaint that was really the push for this was noise and parking, not health and safety. So now we're here at health and safety, but all the rentals that were included at the past meeting now, their health and safety is not an issue. I don't understand this. This makes 0 sense. So we're specifically targeting people renting through online organizations that take their tax out. So my question to you is then, if I specifically take my property off of Airbnb and stick a sign in my front yard and a sign in my backyard and say, short-term rentals, will I be excluded? Because it sounds like with this new ordinance, I would be. So do the health and safety of those renters count? I don't know. This is specifically unconstitutional because you're targeting one specific entity, people that only rent through online organizations that take out the lodging tax. So still yet to see, and this warrant is supposed to be passed, which I urge the selectmen to not do that, to scrap this warrant today, and this is why. We have a right to know, and no one here yet has seen a list of what the inspection is going to be. Have no idea what's on that list. And we won't see it prior to, this is the last public meeting, we will not see that until, ever, probably not even until we vote. How can we vote on something when we have no idea what the inspection list is? That's unconstitutional. The second thing is there's no fee schedule. We still don't know what this is. We've been asked and asking these two specific issues the last 3 public meetings, and still no answer. So that right to know, we still don't know. It's also considered unfair taxation because I am getting taxed via these fees and things that you're doing to me because I have a short-term rental through an Airbnb online entity. And yet the exact person next to me, if they rent on Craigslist or Facebook or anybody else, they don't have that same tax. That's against our Constitution. It's against our New Hampshire Constitution. Can't do that. Indirect taxes must be uniform. This is not even close to being uniform. Next, per the New Hampshire Constitution, Article 23, retrospective laws are prohibited. An ordinance is a law or decree by municipality. Put differently, an ordinance is a local law. Usually ordinances forbid or restrict some type of activity. This is the hospitality rental ordinance that is forbidding or restricting rentals. If I don't abide by these rules, I can't rent. Article 23 says retrospective laws are prohibited. Retrospective laws are highly injurious, oppressive, and unjust. No such laws, therefore, should be made either for the decision of civil cases or the punishment of offenses. That's right out of our New Hampshire Constitution. In this first paragraph, it was brought up that as confusing it is. So we've had 3 public hearings. This is the 3rd. And every time something's new or changed. This new addition is Chapter 78A. They're not even the same. 78A and 48A are not even the same. 48A is regarding housing that's dilapidated and at risk of the people that are occupying it. 78A is statutory. Revision 700, do you know what reference that is? What part of Revision 700? How can you ask us to vote on something when you're actually putting in things that you didn't describe out of the 10 sections and 30 subsections? What section of Revision 700 is applying to 78A and rental ordinances? This should be scrapped at least until next year, until we have the right to know these issues. It boggles my mind. Finally, Bruce Fillmore should be recused and removed as the rental ordinance person in charge because he has a massive conflict of interest. And I recommend that the selectmen, if for whatever reason they decide to move this forward and put it in a warrant article, which I highly recommend they do not, but if they do, that article should state that no planning board member, zoning board member, selectman, or family can profit from this ordinance. Bruce Fillmore specifically has a septic company. One of the major provisions to this rental ordinance is septic inspections. Septic inspections are not cheap. He should have no contact and no ability to inspect any rental in the town of Weare. And that goes for anything to do with this ordinance, inspections, and whatever else the charges may be. I think that's truly, when you look at it at the end of the day, people are seeing dollar signs with this. It's dollar signs to the town, still dollar signs to the town, it's dollar signs to the people that are involved, when in actuality, it's unfair tax and it's unconstitutional. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Jackie Pratt, Winter Road. I just wanted to address some of the things that were brought up at the last, I'm all for this, by the way. At the last one, a few things were brought up that they had asked, I believe it was a acting police, fire chief that was here at the moment. He was called out to answer how many complaints were being brought up about rentals. As far as I know, there's no registry. None of the rentals have to register with the police, the town, or the fire department. I've made several calls. I know that from other meetings, there's many people that have made several calls. Every time I have called about any issues, I was told it's private matter, private situation, civil matter. I have to take it up privately. Pretty sure those never got logged. I never mentioned it was a rental when I called. I just mentioned my issues. One of them actually was a safety one because cars were all the way up his driveway, all the way up mine. There was no way a safety vehicle could get up down our street to his house, my house, anybody's house. So if his house caught fire, we're all going down. So I don't think that was a fair assumption that there were actually no complaints that were logged. I think that a lot of people just don't know to say it's a rental. I think that the police and the fire department don't know it's a rental because it's not logged anywhere. It's not like they look and say, oh yeah, it's a rental. We also don't have a noise ordinance, so nobody's going to call on the noise, which Airbnb and VRBO, you're actually allowed as a neighbor, if the noise is out of hand, to call their 24/7 hotline. And if they get enough complaints, they do get kicked off. So in disagreement with him, in the new ordinance, you can get kicked off Airbnb and VRBO. With the new one that they're proposing, you actually get, if you break the rules, you do get a chance to go in front of the Board of Selectmen and fight your battles and everything else. So it's no different. You'll get kicked off either way, whether it's on the VRBO or Airbnb. Another thing is that they had mentioned that, well, okay, I've been renting for 50-plus years. Why does it have to change now? It's been fine then. Well, okay, rules changed for safety issues. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't have to wear a seatbelt. I have to wear a seatbelt now. It's against the law for safety. People used to be able to smoke on a plane. Can't do that anymore. Safety, health. Can't smoke in your office anymore. Can't smoke in a restaurant anymore. Health. Can't use cell phone in a car, hands-free. Safety. There's a lot of rules that change over the years to put in place to help with safety and health. I don't see any difference with doing something now to put it in place. Now, as far as a fire, absolutely right. There have been no fires. Nobody's died from a rental. Thank God. I'm happy to report that, as far as we know, nobody has. But do we really want that? Do we want to say that somebody couldn't get out of a basement because they wanted to pack a house and get 22 people in to get more money, and there was no egress window and they couldn't get out? Or there was a faulty smoke detector and nobody ever checked it? That scares me. Same with someone's septic breaking or overcapacitated because they've, again, it's a two-bedroom septic and they've got 20 people in there every weekend. If it pollutes a lake, everybody loses out because everybody who rents on the lake, do you think your rental is going to pay for the week if all of a sudden they find out they can't swim in the lake for a week? No, they're going to want their money back. So we all lose if that happens. The way I understood in the ordinance, I didn't think that septic companies do the inspections. I thought that it was involved in health department, but I don't know, I could be wrong on that one too. And the last thing is that, like I said, Airbnb, VRBO, and now Facebook is also making it so you can't have a private page, that you have to put it in the marketplace, and I'm pretty sure they're doing that so that they can start taxing you and keeping track of your money too. It's got to be why they're doing it. If you can complain on those avenues, and you can get shut down on those avenues, the same people who are guilty of that aren't going to stop renting. They're just going to go through the town and advertise a sign. And I feel if you're advertising on a sign, then that's considered a small business or a business. And they have to go through the proper site plans and everything else to state that it's a business. So I would think that you still fall under this ordinance if you hang a sign from your mailbox or on your property. I have always thought that that should have gone through a site plan, through planning or somebody to list it as a business, and that you should have to go under some type of inspection. So, like I said, I'm all for it. I hope that it goes through. I hope that at least this time that we do get to vote on it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jackie.
Neil Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road. Good evening. I submitted a couple of pages at one of the public hearings, and I'd like to make sure that that's still considered part of my concerns. But I do have some concerns now with respect to this, and I'd like to share them with you. I agree with Tom that the first paragraph is very confusingly written and needs to be changed. I'd like to suggest that this ordinance, well, let me go with the other change first. If you look at page 3, under inspections, number, I guess it's B, the term rental unit owner, as used herein, shall not include the owners of a multifamily housing that is not subject to New Hampshire meals and rooms tax and which has received site plan approval from the Weare Planning Board. I don't understand that. It's somewhat confusing. I think that what it says is that the only rental units that are subject to this ordinance are those rental units which have to pay the rooms and meals tax. I think that's what it says. If that's not what it says, or you folks wanted it to say something different, you really need to address that. With respect to the ordinance, if the ordinance is as broad as I think it is, there's going to be a lot, especially at the beginning, a lot of responsibility and time spent by the code enforcement officer and the fire chief and a lot of other folks to try to get all of these folks that need inspections inspected within a reasonable time period. And I'd like to suggest that because this ordinance is complicated, that we not make it apply to the entire town, at least as starters. That we have it only apply to properties that are within, arbitrarily, 400 feet of Lake Horace. So that the area where we seem to be having trouble is the area where we start the ordinance. And if it works out and turns out to be doable, feasible, folks are happy with the results, then perhaps it could be expanded to other parts of town. If we did this, it would significantly reduce the workload and make it possible for us to do things without hiring additional people or having very high administrative fees because of the amount of time it would take. And remember, this ordinance doesn't set the fees. It allows you folks, the selectmen, to set the fees. But it's based on the cost of providing the service, and that could be significantly reduced if we weren't having to hire extra people to help us if we had a huge workload. I still have real problems with this, but if it's going to go forward, and if you expect the town folks to vote on it, it has to be made clearer, because folks always vote no on things they don't understand, and that's a reasonable thing to do. And secondly, as I said, I think it needs to be restricted as to scope, at least the beginning, for the first couple of years, and see how it works. And if it works well, perhaps we can expand it. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Anybody else?
Pastor Bill Stockhouse, 316 North Stark Highway. I'm in agreement that the beginning paragraph is kind of confusing, but the references that are made to RSAs or chapters thereof need to be more specific. The other item that I don't see here is a clear definition of what you mean by hospitality rental ordinance. It doesn't give you a time frame other than the reference to 48 for 30 days. That may not be what you understand it to be, but that, picking this up as an ordinance from Weare, I don't understand what that definition is. Secondly, or thirdly, there's no process by which the fire chief can perform his duties. He doesn't know who is doing the renting. There's no application identification within the document to say that upon application, then the fire chief will go inspect. Otherwise, by this ordinance, he's going to drive around town 24/7 trying to find out and figure out who's renting and who's not, or spend time on the internet figuring out who's on VRBO or whatever to discover. There's no application process, and that, I believe, would be helpful in delineating how this would work. And if you want to go forward with the opening paragraph, rental housing ordinance, this rental housing ordinance needs to state this hospitality rental ordinance, so that it's the same with the title. And then the reference to meal and food service establishments through the purpose of this ordinance needs to be in parentheses, because it doesn't apply in this thought. It's a sub-thought to what you're trying to accomplish. So that's an easy way to fix those things in that opening paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Bill. Anybody else? If nobody else wants to speak first round? Absolutely.
Just, I think that an ordinance such as this is a protection to the landowner or the property owner as well as it is to the renter. Because, you know, if these standards are not in place, safety standards and sanitation standards, then it opens up the property owner to all kinds of liability. So I think this is a win-win for the property owner as well as for the protection of the renters.
Thank you, Tom.
Nick Fox. Sure, one more thing to add I forgot to add. Speaking to what he just said, it reminded me, which is good. I appreciate that. I don't know if you've looked at the online registration with Airbnb, but you have to abide by their rules. And their rules are the noise and some of the other issues that were brought up before, but also very specifically smoke detectors, radon or carbon monoxide detectors, fire extinguishers, and all those things. The nice thing about social media, the nice thing about online stuff is reviews. So if there is a review that a person at an Airbnb says there were mice running around, there was wires hanging down, there was no heat, there was no running water, all the things that are in 48A, Airbnb catches that, you're gone. You have to sign that you abide by those rules. If you don't, and a review comes back stating one of those things was broken, you're off until you can prove, I don't know how, that you've actually fixed it. So there's already that in place. And what's interesting is because you took all these other rentals off, this health and safety thing is covered already. We pay for it already by listing through them. This is overkill. It's already done. It's redundant. And I'm so glad that I was reminded of that. So if you guys, please, again, just check it out. Just do some research on it, and you'll see Airbnb requires that of all their folks. And if they're not, and if a review comes back breaking any of those rules, they're booted.
Thank you, Nick.
Dave Pratt, 51 Winter Road. I agree with what Mr. Fox just said, but the problem becomes people get kicked off at Airbnb and other programs like that, go somewhere else to rent their establishment. So eventually it comes down to it's a town issue. So just something to keep in mind. And something that could become a problem with the town. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, John Nikias. I'm in favor of this. It's the first step. But the way I see it is, if you rent a place more than you stay in it, it's a business. That's just my opinion. I'm no lawyer. I don't know anything about it. But if you're going to rent it 51 weeks out of the year, stay in a week, it's a business. You're making money off it. I don't understand. Mr. Fox brought up a good point. I'll check with Airbnb. If you can report somebody to overstaying the septic design, it's on records. Maybe that's a good thing to check on now. You know, and if you guys are looking for complaints, I'll make out a complaint tomorrow. I got something that I had a problem with this weekend. I'll make out a complaint tomorrow. You want a paper trail? We'll start a paper trail. I just need we have a health officer now, so I'll start there with the health officer and I'll fill out a formal complaint tomorrow. It's just, this is just getting too far out of hand here. You got people that are buying properties that are really disobeying the laws. You got people walking around, looking in places. You got other people cutting down brush on town property that the selectmen don't want to do anything about. You got the same person physically picks up a no trespassing sign, launches a watercraft under it. You know, and this is people that own the places. What's gonna happen with all these rentals? You're gonna bring people in. If the people don't respect anything that own the property, how do you expect them to enforce anything else?
Thanks, sir. Anybody else? Okay, we'll close the public hearing then. 7:02. And we'll take this under advisement. Thank you.
You gonna wait till the end of the evening to make your motion to move it on, or what are you gonna do?
I think there's some things that were brought up that need to be fixed. So, I'm not in favor of moving it just yet,
Okay.
so. Folks, we have more business to conduct, so if there's gonna be conversations, you can take them outside, I appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I didn't know there was a selectmen's meeting tonight.
There is.
I'm sorry.
Nope, not a problem. That's why I figured I'd state what I did.
I thought it was just a public
Nope.
hearing.
Thank you.
Everybody?
Thank you. Okay, next we'll move on to public comment. Frank? Oh,
Nick Fox, you sure, since we're no longer on the rental ordinance, for public comment, do you guys answer questions, or again, it's just statements?
statements for now.
Just statements. So I am curious on the town's policy for retribution. So I can't find it. I guess I could do a 91A and find it, but as selectmen, you are supposed to protect town members for fear of retribution after speaking at a public meeting. No one should fear speaking at a public meeting, ever. In fact, I should have made a copy of this, I can't see it, it's under your code of ethics, but that you guys signed this code of ethics stating that you're actually for equity, you're for fairness, you're for people speaking out even if it disagrees with your viewpoint. And you guys all signed that code of ethics. So a lot of people speak out against things, speak out against your opinions, speak out against your views, and there should be no fear for retribution. Well, this is now public record, so I will let you know. Last Monday, after the public hearing for the town administrator, Amy Bolton's salary, the meeting ended at 8, and at 8:01 I walked out of the room, and Bill Bolton, who is Naomi's spouse, yelled out, "Is that the rental ordinance asshole?" And in which case Bruce Fillmore, who is a planning board member appointed by the town, confirmed, "It sure is." I turned around and said, "What was that?" He charged me and pushed me 3 times with his body. I hit the door jamb and caught myself, thankfully didn't fall down the stairs. I now have a restraining order against Bill Bolton. Be happy to provide a copy. And he was arrested yesterday.
Board members, I'm going to ask you think this is appropriate for public comment?
It's not a comment, it's a statement.
It's a statement.
It happened at a public hearing here. It happened right out there. This is 100% appropriate because it happened here. I spoke out against something I disagreed with and got attacked. So as selectmen, as a town, we need to protect our body. We need to protect these people. We can't have that happening in this town, period. It's public record now. It's on court documents, testimonies, all confirmed. Everything was confirmed. So just want to make that public comment. You guys really need to protect the citizens and have no fear of retribution. In fact, on that specific salary discussion, there were people that I heard were spoken to, didn't want to come for fear of retribution because they had projects in town and they thought people would shut them down. They didn't show up. I showed up. I got assaulted. That's my comment.
Frank?
Thank you. Frank Campana. I only have one comment for tonight. I'll save the next one for next opportunity. Your December 5th meeting, the board had a paper in hand, a request from the police chief to consider accepting an amount of money for my notes. I thought would be sufficient, but I think I'm in error with the dollar amount, to accept lighting devices for the person, for the officers to wear personally, kind of like on the shoulder, I think. And I apologize, I wrote down $15,000, I think it was $1,500.
Yeah, 1,500
Not-
sounds right.
Pardon me?
1,500 sounds.
Okay, thank you, yeah, I added the extra zero and I put the comma in the wrong place. So, my comment is that Selectman Cahill, you did approve it. The police chief felt confident enough that you probably would approve it for whatever information he provided you, and he didn't even have to be here to speak to it. So I think that's pretty good. But Selectman Cahill was one that, I don't remember if it was a unanimous vote into the positive, it probably was that night. But Selectman Cahill voted for it, and he made the statement, no cost to the taxpayer. Okay, well, that's a politician's answer, no cost to the taxpayer. What's going to happen when these things, as the police chief is so eloquent in presenting life cycle of things, radios, vests, helmets, et cetera, cars. So what's going to happen when he comes, whatever the life cycle, his words, of these shoulder devices, all right, comes to pass, 3 years, 5 years, 2 years, is it going to be a cost to the taxpayer? Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Anybody else for public comment? Mike?
Good evening, Mike Eldridge, Concord Stage Road. Sorry you're missing a couple of members tonight. Hope they feel better soon. Good evening, Town Administrator Bolton. As some of you, or most of you, are aware, I was let go last week due to a matter relating to rules, regulations, and laws. Talking about rules and regulations and laws, I'd like to point out how multiple non-public meetings regarding me and my employment directly were held by this board without me being notified so I could represent myself. I did reach out at least once, if not twice, to Town Administrator Bolton. So if we're discussing rules and regulations, I would start with, where do we start picking and choosing which ones to enforce? It would seem to me if we were going to enforce the rules, then we need to enforce all the rules, not just picking and choosing which ones we enforce based off a politically motivated agenda. The board set a date for me to obtain my license or lose my job. I succeeded in obtaining a valid license. Much to a couple board members' dismay, I accomplished the task put in front of me. I was then instructed to resume all my job duties in full. Let me remind you, I was hired without a license, with no set date for obtaining one, and no mention of having a license without a restriction mentioned in the job posting.
I've continued to do my job and serve this town, which I love flawlessly. Back to the point of following rules. Where do we decide which rules to follow? Do we turn a blind eye when it's advantageous for the town? We violate multiple rules every day. Let's start with the issue of my license not being good enough to operate the skid steer, which I would like to point out is not a registered vehicle with plates for use on the roadway. This, however, doesn't stop the highway department from borrowing it with the broom attachment to take it out and clean bridges on public roads. I'm the only person in recent years capable, physically, outside of a couple employees at the highway garage that have valid Class A licenses, of moving and backing up the municipal trash hauler. By choosing this path, I would expect we'll start enforcing all the rules, starting with decommissioning the trash trailer, the tractor rather, which is not inspected, non-inspectable, and even if it was, only a highway department person with a valid Class A license would legally be able to move it. This would add cost and taxes to the town in the form of overtime for a Class A driver or wait time associated with having Sizemore move all of our trailers for us. So in the terms of possessing a proper license, when did this become so? Considering the only person in recent history with the correct license for tractor trailer was former Director Knapp. You have allowed multiple people, including at least 2 former foremen, to do this job without a correct license for moving tractor trailer. This doesn't include yesterday, when a part-time employee, well, I'm not sure if they're even covered under town insurance for moving vehicles. Last time I checked, I didn't think so. Was seen attempting to move the municipal trash hauler. So I ask, why now? A restriction on my valid license is a problem, other than using it to political advantage to dismiss me from my post. Secondly, regarding regulations, you'd have to immediately suspend all part-time personnel. It's a violation to have any employee working at a transfer station under DES regulations without being certified as a solid waste operator within 6 months of employment. Furthermore, we have an employee that has worked for the town, that has not had a license for more than a decade, with no intentions of getting one. He gets to keep his job. Thirdly, I'd like to point out your blatant disregard for rules pertaining to simply sending a non-certified person to replace myself. A principal operator was a violation during my leave. Lastly, if the board so wishes to discuss it, let's talk about the member who has repeatedly approached members of the public, offering them my job, going all the way back as early as September and the beginning of October this year. Did any of you know that ever happened? How can you possibly expect the people of the town and town employees to have any faith in the members if they are openly offering others positions because they want someone else terminated? You think the employees of the town feel secure in their positions and wish to continue working for the town when their bosses, being you guys, make us feel expendable? Do you think the townspeople have any faith in town employees when they are spoken of in such a light in a public setting by public officials?
find that highly unlikely. You as a board have created a toxic work environment that will continue to do so until witch hunts and shady shenanigans cease. With my termination, this results in the second prominent town employee you have lost in a couple of months in what is very clearly an act of war declared upon the DPW department, orchestrated by one member of this board. Does this board not care, nor have the town or its taxpayers' best interest in sight? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for your statement. Any other public comment? There being none, we'll move on. To department head committee items. Recognize Finance Administrator Beth Rouse for end of year, for balance of budgets presentation, excuse me.
C2 to go, real quick. C2? Is he here?
Yeah, he was wandering around the halls.
Yeah, while she sets up, he has a quick question.
Oh, all right,
Yeah,
all right.
I didn't see it.
Recognize Acting Chief Richards.
Need to ask the board to spend up to $10,000 from fire rescue payroll surplus. The two lines that were over were the vehicle maintenance, with the pump issues we had with the tanker, and then the other is for vehicle fuel. So, if you have any more questions than that, I guess we can work them out.
Naomi and Beth, am I incorrect in stating that that's Board of Fire Wards to decide that, or no? Because it's their budget?
Well, usually in the past, the chief has come in to ask if he could use some of his payroll money
Okay.
to offset the operating portion of the budget.
Okay.
So he's not gonna go over budget bottom line.
Right.
He's just
okay.
asking you if he can use some of the payroll.
Some of the payroll stuff, okay. Does the board have any issues? No? No? Does that need to be moved?
It would be easier, yes.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that the chief is allowed to reallocate money within his 2022 budget to offset the overages relative to the pump. And what was the second one, Chief?
The fuel.
And the fuel. Do I have a second?
Is there a second?
Second.
Moving second, and all in favor?
Yes.
Abstain.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All set?
Thank you, Chief. Now recognize Beth.
So I did have someone come in to look at this week. Unfortunately, he was unable to fix it. So I do have a vendor coming in next week, so hopefully I'll be back at the podium and not sitting over here.
Oh, I didn't know there was a issue.
Yeah, an issue with those cables.
Oh, with that cable, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can't get
Oh.
that.
All right,
So hopefully
okay.
we'll get it repaired by next week.
Okay.
Okay, so a few weeks ago when we were planning on discussing these, I sent you an email. Minor changes have occurred since then.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first sheet that is the handout, is just a summary of our proposed budget compared to our default budget. The 12-page document following it is the detail. Okay, so if you just want to look at your document, ooh, that's loud. Okay, so we'll start with town officers' salaries. There is no change from the proposed to the default. The next department, town officers. The only changes in that department is going to be the hosted email that has been underfunded since we've had the default budgets for about 3 years now. So that we're proposing $10,733. The default budget's only $5,060. So there is a $5,673 increase in that line. The IT service contract that you signed last year, there's a $15,301 increase. We did manage to get a cheaper lease on our photocopiers this year. So next year will be year 2 of 5, so we'll have a reduction of $526 annually. And then I offset the postage by $500 because the postage meter service increased. So we lowered postage to try to help offset that. So for that department, there's an increase of $20,940 over default, mostly due to contracts. The next department is going to be the elections. There's only one election in 2023. There's just a small increase of $300, and that's for wages. Tax collecting. There is, the entire department is reduced by $42,550, and that's due to the restructuring of that town office. We're proposing a part-time tax collector. I guess we'll get to the restructuring more later. In assessing, there's a $12,610 increase overall. Majority of that is the assessing contract that you signed this year. So that's $11,220 increase, the contract itself. The software support is also increased 2%, and that's per year, and we've had default for 3 years, so. Legal expenses, we reduced it by $6,000, just to help offset the entire budget. The finance department, that increased by $18,114, and most of that is payroll for a pay increase that was given back in 2019. Again, we haven't had a proposed budget passed since. And then the software support for the accounting software is also increased $1,576. The town clerk is asking for a $2,415 increase. Most of that, again, is due to payroll. There was a pay increase with the new hire. And of course, with the pay increase, payroll taxes, New Hampshire retirement system, everything's attached to that. Any questions so far? Okay. Selectmen's office, there is a $43,788 increase. And that is mostly, again, due to payroll, the new contract, plus the restructuring of the town office. The administrative assistant prior only did 30 hours in the admin office. This year we're proposing 40. Again, that's why there's an offset with the tax collect office. The selectman's office, you'll see land use, building, all of those are part of the restructuring. And the other increase is all contract related. So overall, cable, that was reduced by $345 because the cable committee has a capital reserve fund for repairs. Trustees of the trust funds had no change. Sorry, I'm looking at my paper and not the screen, sorry. It's easier. Land use, there was a small reduction of $102. Again, that's the restructuring of the town office. Government building. There was a contract increase for the custodial services back in 2021. We're on year 2 of 3. Again, a lot of it was looking at the heat and the electricity, the usage that we've used, and the cost on which we're paying now. Sorry, for years now, we've tried to reallocate money to some departments for heating and electricity, but we've been stuck in a default. So based on usage is where those numbers come from. The biggest increase in government buildings is going to be the lawn care mowing contract. That was an increase of $8,090. Cemeteries, there's an increase of $8,840. Again, that's due mostly to the contract. There was a $10,000 increase in the contract. We did reduce the cemetery maintenance because of cypre, and there's also a capital reserve fund for cemetery maintenance. The largest hit to our proposed budget is the insurances. The insurances went up $99,475. Now, that's over the default number, and that default number is 3 years old. Just saying. Police department, he went over the operating budget portion of it. There was no change in the advertising and regional, sorry. So the police department, he went over the operational. There's a large increase to the payroll section of it. There was a pay increase per the Board of Selectmen for an education incentive to the chief. And then there were some pay increases for promotions to officers. Again, those were in the proposed, not the default, so. And the rest of it, he went over.
Well, let me go back to 236.
Yep.
Spreadsheet line.
Yep.
I don't, that was, we brought officers in that were certified and tenure.
Those were defaulted. Those are defaulted.
Right, but we brought them in at a higher rate, and that wasn't anticipated in the default budget that's 3 years old.
Yeah, so those those pay rates are in the proposed, and they're also in the default. These pay increases were from, I don't know if you remember, a couple years back, we had a promotion from an officer to a corporal. We moved an officer up a couple steps.
Okay.
So that was outside of the CBA, and it was outside of the hiring.
Okay.
When someone's hired at a rate, I put it into the default, because we're obligated to give it to them.
Okay.
But when they're given a pay increase outside of that,
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's proposed.
emergency management, just reduced that by $549. Zeroed out the Comcast line because that's free for the Emergency Operations Center. Fire Department, C2 went over that when he was here, and the chairman of the Board of Fire Wards, they came in at default. $1 according to mine, for rounding. Code enforcement, there's a $41,409 increase. The majority of that is due to the restructuring of the town office. Forest fires, there's increased by $2,978. Again, the Board of Selectmen approved a stipend back in 2021 that has yet to be passed in the budget. Highway Department, a while back, we went over the operating portion of it, but we didn't go over the payroll. I'm still uncertain on the payroll for the Highway Department. I don't know the board's direction on the director, so we just left it status quo. If you want me to make changes, let me know, please. So the largest increase of the entire budget is in highway, so we'll always come back to that one. Street lighting, we reduced it by $600 based on usage. Transfer station, again, we reviewed that when we reviewed the DPW's budget, except for payroll, and we are increasing part-time wages to cover vacations and Saturdays and Tuesdays. More. Sewer, we did reduce the salary of the sewer budget, and we're proposing an outside vendor to take over the duties. If that changes, please let me know as well. So for sewer, overall, it was just an increase of $85. The water department, that was raised by $1,151. Most of it was testing and the possibility of using an outside vendor. Animal control, Chief Moore went over that. The health department being raised by $574, and that's due to the employee who took over those duties has New Hampshire retirement system. Welfare, that was reduced by $6,224, again, mostly due to the restructuring of the town office. Parks and Recreation, they're asking for a $6,000 increase. And we do have a representative from Parks and Rec that will be speaking on that in just a minute. Library, Clay was in and discussed library. Patriotic purposes, there's no change. Conservation, reducing that by $736. Again, mostly to, it's kind of a restructuring of the town office, because most of it is the transcriber wages. No change in economic development, no change in the ambulance billing, and there's no change in the debt service. So the proposed budget has an increase of $729,128. Where most of that is in our non-discretionary items. Most of that is our agreements. Our agreements aren't considered contracts when it comes to the proposed budget because they can be canceled anytime. We're not obligated. Most of them are like the insurances. We're not obligated to do that every year. We can find someone else. We don't have a contract for our insurances. So that's one of the biggest increases. Like I said, the insurances was almost $100,000 increase. Also in non-discretionary is the fuel. And that alone, so the driving accounts I have, so the fuel is a $206,000 increase to our budget this year, based on the per gallon rate that you guys set back in the beginning of budget season. The insurances, like I said, went up $100,000. Salt and sand added $78,000 to our budget. And then the agreements, either software agreements, capital is an agreement, so that's $60,000. And then the electricity and the heat is also $11,687 increase. So that's what drives that huge increase in non-discretionary items. The discretionary items were the driving accounts for those, with the tools. We proposed 75, you guys purchased 15, so there's still 60 in there, whether you guys take that out or not. When we get to year-end purchases, we might be discussing that. Guardrails is in there, that's a new line for $15,000. Gravel road maintenance is a new line that's in there for $15,000. Supplies. Now, I just picked the highest items. Dues and trainings went up $2,000, and building maintenance in all the departments was $2,600. The contracts, IT service went up 15, lawn care went up 27, Avatar went up 11, hauling for the transfer station went up almost 17, and dispatch went up 12. And then the driving account for the payroll, and these are all those driving accounts, and you can see the restructuring of the tax department, the welfare, how those are negatives, land use is negative to help offset the other departments. So that's where we are in the proposed. Are we going to discuss this at our next meeting? Okay. So you guys have some homework to do? Get out the red pencil. Make it red. I like the red pencil.
And we'd like to do this next, next Monday is a holiday, but if we do next Thursday,
I'm fine with that.
Really?
because we have to get moving.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
No.
Because the public hearing is,
The 16th.
Okay.
so you'll have one meeting before the public hearing? That's it?
We may have more.
Oh, okay.
We're not.
Are you all good for Thursday?
I'm okay with it.
Next Thursday,
Is the 5th.
5th?
Yeah.
Well,
So we'll have to, I'd really like to just focus mainly on the budget
Yeah.
warrant articles.
Well, that's why,
and things like that.
I've been asking for a work session type thing.
Yep.
Right along.
Yep.
6:30?
Okay, and now we have
Yeah.
Denise is here, just to go over some proposals for Parks and Rec.
I made copies because I had changes,
Okay, did you want
but
to
we
please?
can use those if we need to. I
Do
apologize.
you have the warrant articles? Or just the-
I do. I had a computer printer failure, so only have one colored copy.
And I get it.
Thanks, Denise.
And I got it.
You can share it. Oh. I was asked, Janine couldn't make the meeting, Denise Purington, by the way, I think most of you know me. So she asked me to come in and just go over some of the changes to the budget. On your sheet, the first, we dropped into a spreadsheet just to show you, since 2017. Again, like all other budgets, we've pretty much had a flat budget, yet we've experienced a lot of increase in our costs. This year, last year, things like porta potties, dumpsters, the fuel costs have gone up, so they're upping our fees. And what happens is when these fees go up, we have to take them out of other line items, which is going to prevent us from kind of going forward with some of the maintenance we need to do in our parks and our fields. So these are the 4 key areas where we were looking for increases when you saw that $6,000. I had an opportunity and will continue to have an opportunity to participate in the Southern District Parks and Recreation Group, which was very helpful for me this year. And I just dropped in a quick grid that I'm continuing to put together. It just kind of shows you what other towns who are in the Southern District population, whether or not they have a parks committee or commission, whether they have paid employees, and if they have revolving revenue accounts, because that's what I'm going to talk to next. That is a work in progress as we continue to get more information about what other towns are doing. I dropped in the population so we can kind of compare ourselves to towns of similar size. So we are putting forth this year 2 warrant articles. The first one is for a revolving fund. I gave you just a little bit of an overview. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I just highlighted, for the most part, and you can see many of the other towns do have revolving accounts, which would allow us to keep fees that we collect, and primarily right now, our fee collection is from the lake, Chase Park. Currently, those go back to the operating budget, or
Yeah,
Yeah.
general fund.
general fund. So we're looking to be able to keep those funds so that in addition to what we have in our budget, we would have funding to start doing repairs to our parks and our fields that right now are getting deferred because we don't have that money. I sent each of you earlier today an updated inventory. I apologize, it's pretty big, but I tried to do a PDF. But I had gone through all the facilities except Chase Park and taken pictures of everything we're responsible for and tried to highlight some of the decay that we're seeing. Skateboard Park's a good example. This fall, we took down one of the last remaining 2 features in the skateboard park because it was rotted and it was a safety issue. We hope not to take the other one down in the spring. We hope to get it repaired, but it is pretty rotted also. But we don't have the funds when we take them down to replace them. We spent quite a bit of money this year on the playground at Bolton. A lot of the material in that playground is cracking. It's been there for a
Has to
while.
stay open.
So the revolving account would just allow us to take the fees from Chase Park and give us some money to be able to spend on everything above the basic fees that we're spending it on, like garbage and trash pickup. Beth helped me. We had written the language. She did send it to the town lawyer, legal counsel, and she made corrections to it. So what you see in front of you is what she sent back. So I made the updates, and per her feedback, this would be the appropriate wording should you support us going forward with a warrant article. Again, this doesn't replace an operating budget. It just allows us to use the fees that we collect. Primarily today, it's Chase Park. They average between 15 and 20,000 a year. Seems like a lot, but one feature in the skateboard park could run us $15,000 to $20,000. So I'm not saying that's what we're going to do next, but picnic tables at the lake need replacing. The benches around the gazebo are rotted. We have a number of other things at Bolton Field. The sand box for the kids has collapsed. We've deferred wood chips for 2 years. This will be the third year, so we keep pushing things away. Any questions on that warrant article? The second warrant article that we're proposing is to establish a capital reserve fund. Again, this was submitted to Town Legal Counsel. She made a couple of changes, and it's reflected in this wording here. As you know, this year, the tennis courts were resurfaced. And when I say resurfaced, the cracks were repaired and a coating was put over it. So it's still the original asphalt. We've been told by all the vendors who bid and the vendor who did it that this will be the last repair. After this, it will have to be replaced or closed down. So we would like to start to think ahead. We believe we'll get 3 to 5 years out of the current repair, but we have received from 2 different organizations an indication that to replace that tennis court on the existing location, it's probably going to run around $200,000 at current prices. If there has been some recommendations to us to think about other locations like Inison Field or the property donated, the gravel bank when it gets emptied, but relocating it will cost more money than redoing it in its current place. And that land was donated for this purpose. So we would like to establish a capital reserve fund and have it funded this year with $20,000 to begin that process over a 5-year period. I did put a sample activity calendar in your packets just to give you a sense of the frequency of which that court is being used now. And what I'm unable to track is, when it's used in the afternoon by tennis players or other people, but these are just when I'm able to keep track of what we see in the mornings and afternoons. So the facility is getting used, and it is one of the only facilities that Parks and Rec has, other than the lake, that is used a great deal by the adults in the community, particularly over the age of 50. Otherwise, most of our fields are used by youth sports and stuff, so there is some importance. I do at some point, or the commission would like some guidance. I had a chance to speak with the State Land and Water Conservation Fund. It is a fund that funded the current tennis courts when they were built in 1980. It was also a grant that we received to do Purington Field. And I'm not going to go over the last 2 pages, but I tried to highlight for you. It is a 50-50 matching grant. It's an extensive process. It opens every April. It's about a 1-year process to go through. Once you receive it, you have 3 years to spend it, and you can ask for an extension. However, it's going to be a lot of work to do it, and I want to make sure the town, it's the direction they want us to go, because it is a matching grant, and it comes with some contingencies. So things that we will have to adhere to, like everything has to be ADA compliant, dedicated parking spaces. They don't say how many, but there would need to be some. In-kind donations can be applied towards our portion of the match. They recommend holding some public hearings. We would need to do a site survey, so that site would have to be resurveyed. They want to be sure before they extend a grant that our boundaries are appropriate, and nobody's going to come back and fight that. So we're going to need to look at some funding to have that resurveyed. However, we don't want to go forward in doing that if the select board and the town doesn't feel like going for a grant is really what the town wants us to do. And then we would have to do a site design, which we'd have to do anyways, so that we can lay out the design to submit in the grant of what the renovated or replacement courts would look like. And what we would look for is future usage, new fencing, possible lighting, a mixture of tennis and pickleball, since pickleball has become so big for the usage, and trying to stay within that footprint. So that's kind of where we're at as a commission. I think where we're looking for the most guidance at some point is there a sense of the board that we should seriously consider the grant? Because we would have to begin writing that probably over the winter. It would need to be submitted in April. It's a grant where you submit it, and then they tell you whether they think your project is good enough, and then you really submit it. So it's a two-step process. If we didn't get it done this year, we could always do it in another year, because we have 3 to 5 years. But because it's possible that we could get turned down in 1 year, we'd want to be sure that we have a couple of years.
My only, as one member speaking, the Parks and Recs has not been very successful in years past with their warrant articles.
Yep.
My fear would be putting the cart before the horse. And what I mean by that is the March vote.
Right.
Right, is if, I know, I understand the urgency of trying to get wheels in motion as far
Right.
as the grant, but if it's all for naught
Right.
because of a no vote, that would be my only concern.
Correct. However, you don't necessarily have to have the warrant article. At some point, if you get the grant, though, you do have to have some sense that.
Well, there's gonna be some kind of a commitment from the town if
Yep.
we get the grant, right?
Yeah. So I think what we want to do is the reason, I wanted to come tonight and give you this language and just talk to why we're looking to do this. On both warrant articles, we're just trying to keep the park facilities that we have together. I know it's tight, budgets are tight, the economy the way it is, but by doing the capital campaign and doing small increments, it's a lot better than trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
go.
Well, I'm not,
No.
personally opposed to the
Yep.
warrant articles,
Yep.
I'm just
No,
trying to,
I agree. And it's, part of it for me is, would the town agree to the stipulations of the grant? Would we want to go forward with all of those things? Because we'd have to commit to that if the warrant article was voted in and it was funded. And
Right.
we'd have to come back each and every year.
Right.
Obviously. Would this board want us to go forward with a grant of that magnitude, but with all the stipulations that I have written
Right.
in here?
Right.
I don't need an answer tonight,
Okay.
but it's just something that we want you to think about.
Okay.
And I think, and again, the revolving revenue account is important to us because, it's kind of frustrating to see the decay, and you'll see it in the document I sent you, and it's becoming a safety hazard. I mean, that's why we took the feature down
I did see that, yeah. I
in
did take
the,
a look at.
in the skateboard park, because we could no longer piece it together and have it be safe.
Right.
Right. Denise, can I have a couple of questions? First is on the retaining of, are you fixed at the 100% in the warrant article?
The only reason we looked at the 100%, and, I mean, obviously, if there's thoughts of less than that, is because the fees currently at Chase Park run, if you look at the average over the last 3-4 years, it's been 20,000 and decreasing. So it's not like, if we said we'd keep 50% of the money from our fees, the revolving fund probably wouldn't help us cover the cost of some of these pieces that we have to repair. It's not, I look at like some of the other departments where their revenue may be 70,000, 100,000. Our revenue is right now, this year, our revenue is $14,000 for the Chase Park. fees.
So I guess my question back to Park would be, what is making it go down?
So we are going to be meeting in, at our January or February meeting, we're going to be discussing park fees.
And that was what
So
I was where I was going.
Right, so I think there were two factors that occurred, and I think occurred at the same time, so it's hard to weed them out.
Yeah.
Although I think this year helped us. So COVID hit,
Mm-hmm.
and the park fees for outside
Went
of
up.
Weare went way up. And sometimes you can raise your fees to accomplish one goal, which I think is to keep the overcrowding down.
Yep.
And shoot yourself in the foot.
And that's
And then
kind of
we-
what sounds like it's happened.
Correct. So we do have a scheduled meeting
Okay.
before the town budget time.
Okay.
But really to look at the fees for voting, for residents, and for non-residents. And I think where we're going to focus a lot on is the non-residents.
Okay.
And what can we do to balance that maybe a little bit? And capacity wasn't an issue this year, and I don't think this year was because of COVID.
Right.
A little bit last year, but I don't think so this year.
Tailing off last year, but not this year. Okay.
So definitely, we have to look at how we make Chase Park. I mean, we have employees there, we want it to be full, we want people to be using it.
Okay. So on the grant, the existing location, I'm assuming the grant money is for this rebuild of the tennis court, am I right?
Yeah, and it's a replacement really of the tennis court.
The existing location doesn't lend itself very well to meeting ADA accessibility because of its elevation from the parking lot.
Unless we built some level of ramps around the front of it.
Yeah, and it almost like seems, I can't actually, unless we brought it up from the side and change the entrance, there's probably, we could get the 1 and 12 there, but anywheres out front, there isn't, I don't think you'd make the radius without considerable amount of retainage.
Right.
So that's limiting in that respect. The next is obviously, we have to have adequate, we have to have parking near that ramp, within so many feet of that ramp, which there's limited parking there to begin with. And then there's the recurring costs if we now, would we be subject to maintaining a handicap portable toilet facility for the duration? Because obviously there's limited use
It
on
would
the
be-
ADA. We
In the
could
winter.
use the ADA bathroom in the library,
We currently put a porta potty there.
you know.
We would put a wheelchair accessible porta potty there, which we talked to the state about. That is acceptable.
Okay.
Just
And
more
it-
expensive.
Yeah, and it is removed when we lock up the tennis courts. The porta potties are taken away
Yeah.
when we unlock them in the spring.
It would just be an additional cost annually, that's all.
Correct, yep. And one of the reasons why we want to do the survey, if you look, so I have we got the tax map and we've got the original deed. It was a donated piece of property, and it basically says, walk out back to the stone wall, go 100 feet.
That sounds about right.
Right, so we don't even know if that tennis court is on the exact,
Postage stamp.
yeah, or is there 100?
So there's gonna be some surveying involved, obviously.
If we get support for this, our goal next year would be to hire a surveyor to come in and take that tax map and that deed and do a layout of that property. So we actually know, to your point, is there any additional space that we could use for ramps, for parking, any of that? Because we don't know.
Do you have a budget on that survey? Have you even thought about that?
We haven't called anybody yet.
Yeah.
No, we wanted to kind of get through this and get a sense what everybody's feeling, but we're going to probably we'll call 3 and ask for quotes.
Yeah, you could get a quick budget almost over the telephone, but those guys are, I mean, that sector is, the cost of that is almost tripled anything you want to do with a surveyor in the last 3 or 4 years.
I mean, it shouldn't be a
It's gotten almost
complicated
ridiculous.
survey, I wouldn't think, but that's our next step next year, is to try to get that site surveyed. At least then we'd have a sense of what we're dealing with as we go forward. And I think, again, I know it seems like a luxury, but it is a facility that we've had since 1980. We hate to shut things down.
Yeah.
And it has become a facility used a lot by the adults in this community, and we're seeing increased usage by the middle school and high school
Yeah.
folks too. So it's increasing in use, not decreasing.
Yeah.
So to shut it down would be to shut down a lot of activity.
Sure. No, it's a valuable amenity, and it's just, I'm just trying to get a better sense of this.
There's a lot
the
of
overall
planning.
commitment.
I mean, we have 3 to 5 years, so there's a lot of planning. But we already kind of know a baseline cost, hence the reason for the capital reserve fund.
Okay.
So there's a lot of planning, a lot of unanswered questions. We have Vermont Rec, who did the surface for us this year, said over the winter they would actually submit to us a schematic with some pricing, so we could at least get a sense of
yeah.
what would new fencing cost, what would lighting cost, and we might not do lighting, but at least you'd get it all in there and then you would know.
Yeah.
So-
We're not gonna want you to do lighting. Because that's gonna spin the meter, so.
Well, you'd have it so the person have to put their credit card in.
There you go, that would be the idea.
Yeah, we wouldn't ask the
I would be
town.
all down on that.
We wouldn't
Wow.
ask the town to pay for it.
That was fancy right there, I like
Yeah, I
that.
would
Yeah,
like that.
no, it's a credit card based.
Okay.
Key
Any
us
other
for lights.
questions? I appreciate your time.
Thank
I
you.
think Parks and Rec just wants you to know that, we're trying our best to keep it together.
Yeah.
And
No,
I hope you'll find that the document I sent you helpful. At least you can get a sense of, where we're seeing decay and where things are looking good.
Yeah, I think it would be important, by the way, with the retained earnings, that somehow or another in your presentation, you certainly emphasize the size of that,
Okay.
okay? This isn't a lot of money
Right.
we're talking about.
Right.
And so,
I think Janine plans to speak to it if you approve it to go forward, Janine plans to speak to it, and I'll make sure that that's added into the summary, that currently what are our fees?
Exactly.
Because
How
this year
much-
our fees were about 14,000.
the 100% just instantly is.
I
like-
know it does, I know, yeah, but it's not a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money to some people, but
No, no,
for the
it
repairs
doesn't,
we
but I
have to
think
do.
they don't know, so it's
Right.
the unknown.
Right.
So we're not keeping any at home,
Right,
so.
right, right. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't see the chief here.
Yeah, I'll go. He should be.
Designate representative?
No,
No.
Oh,
right.
aye, nice.
Thank you.
He's streaming.
Oh, okay.
All right, so this is just a tiny list. I talked to some department heads and asked if there's anything that they could remove from next year's budget to try to reduce it. So in order for fire to come in at default, they did have some items in their proposed that they would like, but they were one-time items. So it's a perfect thing to grab as a year-end, because it's a one-time. You don't want it in the budget every year. So he did get 2 quotes for the saws. So that's why you see quote 1 and quote 2, and then 1 quote for the, that is the operator for the door at the safety complex. I guess I ran out of room there. So he's looking for those 3 items. Here at the office, we just want to stock up on paper. The cost of paper doubled for a case. So if we can get some this year with our surplus, so we don't have to go over budget next year. Just the essentials: toilet paper, paper towels, trash bags. My wish list is a new binding machine, because my knuckles on that old one, when you crank the handle down, you hit the table every time. So I'd like a new binding machine, possibly. The server for the town office, we do need a new server. If it's not this year, it's got to be the beginning of next year, so it's going to come out of next year's budget. We'll have to find the money somewhere.
How old's the server? I thought I remember talking about that before.
Yeah, it was on our list last year. We brought it forward last year in our proposed budget for this building.
Yeah, no, whose server did we redo then?
Police
last
got a
7
new
years.
one, and fire got a new one.
Police and fire.
Maybe it was police and fire because of the data breach, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
they had to
yeah.
go separate.
Okay.
There's a cost for decommissioning the old server and moving the printers to the new one. They'd also like to purchase some external drives so we can archive our data, get them off campus here. And then, obviously, we always put in for 2 new desktops every year, try to get them rotating. This year, assessing and tax collect need a new one. And then a sonic wall here for the town office
Can
building.
I ask about the external drives?
Mhm.
You said get it off campus. Is there a reoccurring cost with that?
No,
Okay.
no. I was gonna say I have his quotes, but don't need it.
Out of ignorance, sonic wall.
That's a
It's a
firewall
That's a firewall.
protection.
Oh.
to
Firewall
keep
protection.
people.
It's to keep the bad stuff out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand, I just don't, doesn't ring a bell.
The health officer, for identification purposes, would like a black vest with town logo on it, for when she, visits, residencies that, are questionable. She wants identification. And then business cards, we don't budget for printing in the health officer budget, because it's, again, a box of 500 will last years. We don't want to have it in the budget. The building department, simple thing, headphones. And then there is a cabinet project going on, so we'd like to get some more yellow folders, and they're $30 for a box, so that's 5 boxes. Again, these are just not something we want to see in the budget, because we're not going to purchase them every year. It's just one time. And then for highway, just fuel.
Yeah.
If we can just put a little bit aside for
And
fuel.
we were out of fuel.
Yeah, I know.
This last weekend.
Yeah. Oh, I know all about this weekend.
Sorry.
I'm quite familiar with this past weekend.
Yes.
I know.
So Beth, when I look at the total requests of 41,1123, and then the 40,7131.
Quote 2.
Yeah, because the fire did
That's
2
it, That's
quotes.
the adjustment between the two?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the second quote was cheaper, so just include them both.
Can I ask what the surplus is?
About 260,000.
260?
And most of that's unfilled unfunded employee spots, right?
Yeah. I mean, currently we have
Vacancies, yeah.
Right.
3.5 in highway. Yeah, 1 in transfer,
Ricky and I are
2
adding a
in police.
generator.
And an auto transfer switch. You just don't know it yet.
Kevin's adding to the list.
We're adding more at the bottom.
Okay. 2
Generator.
generators?
Just one.
What about transfer station?
Yeah.
No, we could do them too.
Transfer station.
I don't think you could ever power that. You could never
couldn't
power
power
the, you could never power the compactor with a, I mean,
It's
well,
all,
you,
it's all three-phase.
you could.
We need 3.
Good.
The generator would come in on a 2-axle trailer.
Yeah, we need a
Yeah.
half a million dollar Caterpillar generator.
Yeah, like I say, it would come in on a 2-axle trailer, yeah.
Are we all set salt-wise? I know the last storms were rain.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
they were, but then remember it froze up and they were out. So the shed, when I was last down there,
Okay.
which happened to me over the weekend, was about 50%, maybe 60%, so.
Well, we're
I-
getting 400 tons tomorrow,
Beautiful.
and then I do have set aside another 400 tons.
Okay.
So before we get to that
would be
260, I do
close.
have some items in there that,
I would think.
for the end of the
Well,
year.
my thing is, I mean, we're kind of on this conversation, is moving forward, would it be advantageous, is it something we've done before, with the unprecedented rise in cost, to put a PO number out there specifically for salt only? So that when springtime rolls around, that shed is full again, not going into the winter with something needs to be filled. I don't know, just a thought.
Right.
And let that money, that purchase order money only be for salt.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I mean, is that something?
We've done that every year,
All right.
well,
Okay.
for the last at least 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, we've always, you don't know what fuel is.
Oh,
You
no.
don't know
no,
what,
well, no.
you don't know how much salt you're gonna use if it becomes rainy. There's just some things, I said to fill up the buildings.
Mhm.
There's just some things
Oh,
that-
absolutely.
Is,
I feel.
Beth, this is again, I just, from memory and something I did in an adjacent town, but don't they quote us, don't we have like 2 opportunities? They price the salt and you have 2 chances to buy, so like there's a,
Well,
Like
they
the
ask
state
us
bid.
for an estimate how much we're gonna purchase.
And
We
that
don't
price-
have to
That
purchase
price
it,
changes
but
our
they,
rate depending on
Yeah.
how much tons we buy.
Yeah, so we tell them we're gonna
gallons we
purchase
buy.
X amount of tons, and they said, okay, this is gonna be your price per ton. You're not locked into buying that much, but
But don't you have a window of time, like, for instance, and again, I'll do the research on this, because I know that they adjust the price, twice a year. So it's what is that commodity worth at that time, and then you have like a 4 to 5 month window to buy in that window at that price. They'll hold it to that point, and then it adjusts again, because I know people have gambled. In
It's
other
like,
words,
it's like buying your firewood in the summer versus
yeah,
the winter,
it's
right?
just like your oil supplier calls you, and
Yeah.
you were smart enough 2 years ago.
Summertime, nobody's buying, quote unquote, and wintertime, it's in demand, right? Right,
So,
okay.
So the generator for here, do you know roughly what that would cost us?
I have no idea. We just need to explore it.
yeah. I mean, I think you're in the 10 range probably. when we're all
I would
said-
say 10 to 15, honestly.
When you're all said and done.
To
Is
have-
that with just the switch?
That,
So we don't have
that
to
would be
go-
something to put in there to run that emergency panel as it's currently laid out. And there could be a couple more things maybe put in there that have changed since the early 90s when that was put in. Uh-oh,
That's the eastern.
Okay, cool.
oh. Yeah, no, I mean, looking at that panel that was put in in the 90s, that generator probably was.
Oh, that generator, and when Chip was here, as I told you,
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't make it work. It would
Right.
run for a few minutes, and the minute he walked away, it stopped.
Right,
Yeah,
well,
It's infrequent, I mean, those things have to, we're gonna have to get that on the maintenance plan where you start it periodically, because it doesn't have auto start.
Right.
So to prolong the life of it.
yeah.
But, yeah, and the other thing is, there's certain things, like, I personally didn't know, we're on our own well, we have our own artesian well?
There's a pressure tank and an RO and everything downstairs.
Yeah, we are.
And it says well pump in the emergency panel.
Well, we share with a daycare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought
Okay.
this building was on the town water.
And we're,
No, we share with them.
and we're metered,
No, I don't think we're metered.
it's metered in the basement. So I don't know, they don't track it, they may have metered it at one point, because we were sharing it, so. it
There is a
could've been-
meter on it, but I don't know if it's active or not.
Because I know when we do our testing, we have to test them and us.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, it's a really nice system, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, we put some time and effort into that, but, you know, at the same time,
Most of the infrastructure's here, we just.
Kevin, before we get carried, should we mention what the events that occurred this weekend? I mean, because we're kind of talking in code here.
Yeah, I think
All right,
for
so,
anybody out there.
so the town offices lost power Friday
Friday at
afternoon around what, 2 o'clock?
Yep.
Come to find out, lo and behold, there was a tree that was on the wires out here. Selectman Cahill and I were here. We walked to the line. The breaker, that loud bang you heard was the breaker that blew out on 114 when the tree hit it. The breaker was swinging in the breeze.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we were low priority here. There was only this office building and the neighbor next door that are on that line. Because when we were here on Friday night,
Yeah,
across the street was lit up.
everyone was.
Granite
there.
State Telephone had power next door, and the daycare was lit up.
Yeah.
So here we are, out by ourselves. Town administrator contacted me Saturday night. She got a message from Eversource saying that Monday at 6 PM, we were gonna get restored with power here. I came over, I still have a physical key to the building because the pendants didn't work. So it was only me and the town administrator that been able to get in. So what we came in, Selectman Van initially was going to assist. He got drawn away for a family emergency. Selectman Cahill came over, we devised a plan, and we put this building on a generator for the boiler only. The generator was temporarily put in. It would last about an hour and a half, hour and 3/4. It was a loaner from the fire department. But it was enough to get the boiler back online, and we had heat in the building, so we didn't lose any pipes or anything like that. But on our return from checking out the lines, we saw that there's a hut out here, and there's a generator in there. Because it didn't make sense why there might be a pipe coming out the building that's insulated with steel and a propane line for an oil-fed building. So the propane tank is considerably old, it is empty, dead 0%. But it just, and there is a transfer switch in the electrical room. There is an emergency sub panel, so the building is pre-wired for it. It's just going to be basically changing out what's out there. And I'm assuming that that was put in at the same time that the panel was put in, and it says PD lights, PD office, PD this, PD that. So again, guarantee it's 90s vintage. How long's it been? It's 2003 since we built the safety complex. Probably the generator came over the Mayflower too. So I'm just saying it probably time to change it. And make it electric start. As Naomi stated, you know, the former code enforcement Chip tried to go out there and screw around with it to get it running. We can't have that. We need something, you turn the key, it fires up, goes vroom, throw the switch downstairs, and the building is live. That's what we need. And I understand that power outages are infrequent. It's a freak thing that one tree fell on the main feed from town. But again, when push came to shove and you've got Bart Clough that's got 10 poles down, two places, one that's uninhabited, take very low precedence. But it very well could have turned very bad here if obviously the basement when we were down there was about 40, 42. So we were headed in the wrong direction.
Right, and then you also were able to plug the food pantry, had
Yes.
2 freezers of food.
We did a walk through the building real quick, just to obviously open up some doors, make sure thermostats were on, because the building has become reliant on the mini splits with their heating ability, so a lot of the boiler stuff has been turned off, so we made sure the boilers are turned on, and Selectman Cahill and I said, well, let's take a walk through the pantry, and we found out that obviously the 3 freezers in there were not up to speed.
I have one correction, and that correction is that it was Chairman Hippler, with his experience, I have assumed through the fire department, that dealt with it very clinically. And if he hadn't, I would have walked away once that boiler was up and running. And it was only because of how he handled the situation that we ever got to the food pantry. And hence, we found there's 3 freezers in there full of meat, and the 2 vertical freezers were already deteriorating, and we moved everything to the 1 Foot Locker freezer and got that activated. Otherwise, literally $100,
Hundreds of dollars.
hundreds of dollars worth of perishables Monday morning would have been not in great shape. I was really, Ricky headed this thing up. I was strictly just the go-to guy. Can you handle refilling at these times? But he did all the heavy lifting, and it should be noted.
Well, thank you, Kevin. But again, didn't want to make sure the building was still
Well, I
here.
didn't, I
We
mean,
might not be having a
I've,
mean today, because if we
Right.
broke a pipe, this building
Broke
would not
pipes or
be-
something like
Well,
that,
we've-
yeah.
my husband and I babysat the town hall one year,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with a chicken coop heater. Tom will remember. Tom was nervous we were gonna burn it down.
Mm-hmm.
But we kept the pipes alive, and that was the year of the 250th, because it was so cold.
Yeah.
And we ran a chicken coop propane heater is what I called it.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed there on and off so that we could keep the place warm.
Yeah.
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 It's
You
very
know, we did
important.
what we had to do. And
very
when I
important,
ever
yeah.
got the message, and I'm like,
You're
it's
reliving it,
only, it's
yeah.
only, it's 10 degrees, I can't wait 3 days.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't know what the bang was.
Yeah.
I really didn't know. We tried our best to shut the lights off when we left it.
Mhm.
It started getting dark in here, about 4. We ran around with flashlights and our phones, and felt that, you know, that wasn't coming back on, because that was,
Well, you called the right guy.
I did, I called the chair.
We,
I
again,
said, I don't know what to do, I need your advice.
I just, you know, obviously those quick action had to be taken, that's exactly what
Yeah,
we
and
did,
I
so.
appreciate that. The other thing, I mean, the boys, I think, have done a great job.
Oh, and absolutely, I think there's no word of imagination that our DPW, our police department, and our fire department, with the events that occurred over the past weekend, unprecedented times, multiple roads washed away, multiple trees down, barricades everywhere, cones everywhere, barricades and cones thrown off to the side by the citizens because they want to ignore them. Multiple places, the road is washed away. Irving Drive comes to mind, Chuck Street comes to mind, Reservoir Drive comes to mind. When we got down to Reservoir, there was about 8 inches of water flowing across it, about 150 feet wide. So, again, unprecedented, and then from go to 50 degrees to 10 degrees. Completely unprecedented. So, huge shout out to those crews, and the time and dedication that they had. The DPW had a couple trucks go down, but again, not even a hesitation, the crews pulled it off. So, something needs to be said about that, and we
Yeah,
commend
I did
them.
it for the police.
Yeah,
You know, Christmas morning, they were right on top of any hazardous situation we had.
Correct.
Patrolling. I happened just to witness a couple things and applauded them for
their efforts.
being right there.
So, but yeah, so.
I'm not sure.
So
Was
we,
there an estimate on that generator?
I think we were gonna put about 15 on it. We're looking for something, and it still, to me, and, you know, I think it would require a little further discussion, a little bit more expert opinion. But I think that the transfer switch system that is in place is probably acceptable. But we need something out there that's electric start, maintained a battery, something that's maintained by a professional, started once every blue moon, et cetera. But I think to power this
Safe, I
building,
think.
about 15
Including
with an
labor?
install, with an install.
Yes, I think that would be safe.
Yeah. So, again, it's not gonna happen very often, but here we were
When it
caught,
does.
we were caught in the crutch, so. But,
Oh,
I
it's
just-
cheap insurance.
yeah,
I just texted the chief and asked if he was coming over.
okay, all right.
Okay,
Okay, so that brings our request to $56,011.23.
Okay. Just for the fire department things, I can definitely speak to the door operator. I wasn't expecting, I hit the button and I thought the motor was gonna jump off the wall. It's screaming and making all kinds of noise. It goes up and down still, but it's not happy. So I think that in passing conversation, I believe that is the last door operator from the original building that needs to be replaced. I think all the other ones have been replaced at one point or another.
Yeah, we replaced one this year.
I believe that is the last one. So, which again, we just talked about it. I think the move-in date was 2004 for that, so we're talking, you know, a lot of service years, up and downs.
A lot of
They
up
go
and
up and down every day, so.
Ricky, what is the chainsaw with the bullet raker carbon tip?
So
used for?
the bullet raker would be for like going through asphalt shingles. It
Okay.
won't allow the chain to dull as
Yep.
quickly.
Yep, I know it's
So,
there. Okay.
it's just it's a term that they use, the bullet rake.
Yep,
So, and then obviously a diamond tip blade to cut through metal roofs or
Sure.
et cetera for ventilation. So. The current list, I don't think is, that's in front of us, I don't think is outrageous. I think it's really the stuff.
we're buying toilet paper.
Well, exactly, literally buying toilet paper. I know, you know, no, it's just, it's stuff that we need and we could definitely refill. Yeah. The other thing, that was noted, and I think this is the opportunity to talk about it, would be, the furnace repairs. The boiler repairs that Kevin was talking about. 'Cause when we came in here, again, it had cooled down and there was a puddle underneath the boiler.
Granite
Yeah.
State-
And that was one of the first questions that Kevin asked me.
State price. The
Pardon?
Granite State price.
Yes.
You get one?
Yeah, $3,600.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was to repair that leak. It was to do a couple of circulator tune-ups or something.
Yeah, so what's happened, again, on the default budget, the boiler hadn't been serviced. There wasn't a real clear understanding of how old the boiler was and whether we were going to invest in it or not. It is a good quality boiler. The initial problem that we saw 6 weeks ago was a control issue, which we have replaced. But during that, while the technician was here, he cited,
Other deficiencies.
yeah, half a dozen other deficiencies, along with the fact that we're losing water out of the side of the boiler when it cools down. It's not an issue for us during the winter period, but all summer long,
It's
we're
leaking.
spewing water out across the floor. So that has to really stop, of course, right? So he gave us a quote of $3,600 to replace a pressure switch, an expansion tank, several fittings that are,
Valves and that are corroded almost off.
and along with stopping that leak. It's very specific, and I just didn't bring it tonight because I didn't think the topic was coming up. But we obviously, before making that expenditure, we'll have that validated by another mechanical contractor. But who did quote it was the one who came in the emergency when we had no heat that morning, and that was our local contractor. So,
Yeah. No, I think that's a perfect use of these funds, because again, it's
One
vital,
time.
it's vital to the building.
it's maintenance. So
Yeah.
if we have the generator but the boiler won't fire, what good's that gonna do us, right?
Right.
So it hasn't been maintained, it needs maintenance, just like all of our home boilers and
Yeah.
furnaces need maintenance.
Yeah, it's,
It's been lacking.
that expansion tank is, I'm surprised it hasn't broke off yet. It's pretty bad looking, so. But, yeah, I think this is the perfect time to put that in. It's a one-time maintenance now.
Yeah, it'll be good.
But
It'll be
moving
good.
forward, we'll have to do some kind
We'll
of
bring
a,
it up to snuff and then do just general
Yeah.
maintenance for another 10 years.
right.
And I also just did a purchase order for salt for 400 tons.
Okay, okay,
For 31, for Eastern Minerals,
okay.
which is our vendor.
And it's, you said 31 thou?
Yeah, 400 tons.
Yeah,
It's up
Okay.
to almost 80.
All right.
about 80 a ton about.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted a number.
So that brings the request up to $91,299.23.
Well then, look at us go. We had some money onto that, almost doubled it. You have anything you want to add, since we're deep in the conversation, or have we spent enough money?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this list, I don't have a problem with this list. I don't have a problem with the generator and whatever else you guys just added.
The furnace repairs, the
Furnace
boiler repairs.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
Okay. All right, I think it's all stuff that's due. Should've been done before, but,
It's catch-up.
yeah,
We're just catching up.
yep. I don't think there's anything else that I can think of off the top of my head, but
No,
those were a couple of pressing issues that we had, obviously. So,
Well, I got no answer, so I'm not sure.
okay.
are we gonna move ahead or?
So do you want to, part of your operating budget, as Beth talked about, we received a proposal I sent you guys for someone to be our operator for water and wastewater.
Yes,
The new numbers were put into the budget, which you saw was a decrease. You do need to just motion to hire him. We are looking at a couple of violations that he's going to take care of. He's already done my December water for me, took it to Concord, so we're not in violation for December.
and you said if I'm hearing correctly, that Beth put those numbers already reflected.
They're already in there. I think it actually created a little bit of a decrease.
No, it went up. It was up $85 in one, and that was sewer, I think? And it was up considerably on the other. It was up 85 on the sewer and up 1151 on the water treatment.
It wasn't due to that, though.
Yeah.
No, not all due to that. No, I understand that, but 2,400 of it was electricity alone.
Yeah.
And
I
1,000 for
think-
pumping costs.
I think that
so.
the big question I asked, and I asked it earlier, of finance, is, where are we in comparison to what we were doing before, which was paying someone in-house? And what we're currently contracting him for is within that.
That monetary value.
Yes, so we're not assuming additional overhead by doing this, with the exception of the emergencies, which in the emergencies, we called in someone anyway.
Right, exactly. So it's not,
So it isn't, we aren't adding to overhead,
No.
which is the most important thing to me.
right. I mean, I'm okay with it. Again,
He's certified.
He's certified, we gotta do something. Is there a term, or is it,
I mean, you could do it this year and see where we go.
okay. I mean, I just didn't know what the idea is, that's all, of longevity.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the restructuring of the responsibilities of the DPW director, and Jason has expressed that he is on his own pursuing some of these certifications. And that would be almost ideal, because we would have a backup resource, right? So if in fact someone's not accessible,
Right.
we have similar to not having the depth we need for certain operations, right?
Right.
Which we
Yeah.
were referred to earlier tonight.
I think it's just this time of year, and I have talked to Jason as well, is trying to
Oh, yeah, he
plow
doesn't,
snow and take care of roads and try to do schooling. This isn't really the opportune time, but he has expressed the interest and the desire of wanting to.
Right.
with the full understanding that there's a steep learning curve and that's gonna take some time.
So, I guess I'll move that we contract with Northeast Engineering PLLC out of Weare for the tasks of, water and sewer testing and maintenance. For, water to be approximately $1,800 a year, and wastewater to be approximately $4,200 a year. Is there a second?
Second.
Move and second, and all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mike, you guys had your public hearing on Monday. I sent you all, there was a concern with regards to the last section.
This is with the town administrator
The
contract.
town administrator contact, and there was a concern about the non-appropriation of funds. I changed it as town council has advised us to, basically putting it in the proposed, not in the default. So I have that here, a clean copy for signatures.
So instead of reading, town agrees to include all such sums necessary to fund this agreement as part of the default, it was changed to part of the proposed operating budget submitted to town meeting each year.
Correct.
So that eliminated that, I believe, that concern.
Yeah, loophole. Yeah.
Right.
No, absolutely. Do you, are we gonna act
I'll
on
add-
this tonight?
Yeah, oh, we definitely need to, because we have to do it before the end of the year. We've got 2 days left, so,
Okay,
but I'll entertain a motion.
so I make a motion that we accept the employment agreement of Naomi Bolton as town administrator as stipulated in the contract that we have reviewed in public meeting and has been reviewed and approved by council. Do I have a second?
I think we gotta do rates in there too, don't we?
Do
Or
we
just-
need to
do we just
read
have
the
to approve it? It's, I don't have to rates, we just have to approve it. Because
It's available to
it's in
anybody
the
that wants
contract,
it.
it's in the
Yeah.
contract.
Yes.
So. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of the contract, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Do you want me to sign first?
Sure. And, excuse me, but next year, can we date this?
It's on the back page
Okay, great. And I wish I would have read that
of our
in.
signatures.
Okay.
That's when we
As
date it.
dated, as dated 12/28/2022. Okay, fine. But I think that's important just to state. the
Yeah,
date we're
it
doing
says, witness in our
What
hands, the
date?
28th.
Yeah, of what day it is,
I
yeah.
would have liked it in the upper right-hand corner.
Well, it's on the, it's in there. So,
Just the back page.
Sure.
Not sure if you just want to move on, I don't.
yeah, we'll move on. I mean, we're still waiting for, the police chief has some stuff that he wanted to put in year-end purchase, but we need, there's a couple things we wanted to talk about, and we're waiting for him to respond. So we'll just move on throughout the schedule. Which brings us to the manifest. If I can find it, there it is. To order the order the treasurer to sign the payroll accounts payables checks dated December 29th,
Get back.
2022 is including the following manifest. A payroll manifest of $98,644.98 for weekly, monthly, and quarterly payroll. A 2022 accounts payable manifest of $142,892.15. A 2023 accounts payable manifest of $242,018.72. John Stark for $250,000, Weare School District for $300,000, for a total of $1,033,555.85. As there's no meeting scheduled for January 2nd, 2023, further order treasurer to sign payroll checks dated January 5th, 2023, estimated to be about $80,000. Further order treasurer to sign up to the amount of $150,000 for accounts payables that cannot wait until next scheduled meeting. Reports and actual check amounts will be reported to the Board of Selectmen by inclusion in the manifest memo at the next scheduled meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Which brings us to the administrator's report.
Yeah, that's right. I do have, before you get started, I'm looking for a little assistance. Today I received a right-to-know request from a resident. I just wanna see if someone else can, if you can try to help me figure out exactly what they're looking for.
Okay.
The right-to-know request was delivered today at 2:15. It says, I'm requesting a copy of the Town Official Employee Handbook or Guide to Policies for being employed by the town of Weare. Also a copy of employment contract all employees and appointed officials sign. So can you tell me what you think? Because I've asked two people and we've come up with different answers. There is no employment agreement that employees and appointed people
I
sign.
think it would be the oath that we do.
Well, so the oath is administered by the clerk. If you think it's the oath,
It would have to be the oath, and I think the ethics, because we all sign the ethics.
we all sign the ethics, yeah.
And I think that would be it.
So what's the first part of the question asking for?
I'm requesting a copy of the employee handbook or
To policies.
guide to policies for being employed by the town of Ware.
I mean, we have an employee handbook.
We have a personnel policy,
Yeah.
but, so, fire has one, library has one, there's a CBA, and there's a town one. All four?
Also, a
Along with the
copy
ethics
of
and the-
employment contract of all
Yeah, if they're
employees.
looking for all employees,
I'd
they
say,
have to have all
yeah,
four.
all of them. And then,
And then the ethics
Any-
form, and then the generic swearing
any-
in that happens after?
I think so. It's really the only thing that the town officials do.
Well, I thought it was kind of confusing, so I wanted someone else to
And also
assist
too,
in that.
I think, obviously any employment contracts with with employees.
But it says that all people sign. All employees sign.
Appointed officials sign.
It says all employees and appointed officials sign. So,
All signed,
So-
I think.
When the employee receives the employee handbook, does he sign off on it?
yeah,
Which
so,
is typical.
so when you in the employees here, when you get the personnel policy, there's a statement that acknowledges that you've received it, and it's up to you to make yourself familiar with all the rules.
Right, exactly.
So that gets
Acknowledgement.
turned back in, and you keep the policy.
Okay.
Then there's also a code of ethics form that gets signed, and there's several other
Yeah, no, that
onboarding.
last one doesn't make any sense to me. A copy of employment contract that all employees and appointed officials sign. To me, that would be the oath of office.
But employees don't sign it.
Correct. But appointed officials do. And, I mean, there's nothing that the employees sign other than their W-4s.
Well, I'm just saying, we do sign the acknowledgement form,
Right.
that it's up to us. We also sign the,
I just have to use the restroom. I'll be
yeah.
right back.
yeah, we also have to sign the, I guess, seeing how we're down a quorum, I'll wait for the rest of my, because we won't have a quorum.
You want a quorum.
We'll wait a minute.
Wait.
What time do you want to start on the 6:30?
6:30 is fine.
I mean.
On the Thursday,
on the
6:30.
Thursday. One of those days. That's okay. And at the end, I would like to have non-public.
Yep.
Did that for you.
Shot one?
Shouldn't be very long. Honestly, we need to go over a couple things, and that's it. You have to go right. Oh.
Okay.
All right, I wanted you guys to see if you could some other answer than I thought.
Yep.
No.
So if we give them,
Might want to ask for clarification. I think that'd be the best thing to do.
okay, I can do that.
Ask for
too.
Yeah,
clarification.
maybe a little more specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so we don't miss something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, two of us read it like 3 times, and you can come up with a different answer.
Yep.
All right, where's my report? We haven't heard anything more. I've not heard anything more in regards to the radio.
Okay.
I still know we had a verbal. I don't know that we've seen any, further written correspondence.
To speak to radios, kind of a side topic, but radio related. In Pembroke, Plaza Hill, there is multiple towers up there, cell phone towers, radio towers, amateur radio towers, and also Concord Fire Alarms towers up there. One of the towers, 120-foot tower, blew over. It ripped the concrete right out of the ground. It was what FirstNet was on, AT&T FirstNet, and another provider was on. It hit the Concord Fire Alarm antenna, which was one of their UHF link antennas. When that antenna went down, it pulled a complete, not fire alarms, but a complete radio console inside a building from one side of the building right to the other with the coaxes. It took out a couple of ones. Power company was very reluctant to turn power back on up there because there was so much carnage. The moral of the story is even though fire alarm was interrupted, the services never faltered.
Really?
Never faltered even.
Wow.
They also had other radio issues on a couple of other ones, and the services never faltered. So
That's amazing.
it speaks volume to what the town switched to.
Sure.
So
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome.
yeah.
The River Road Bridge, I'll hop to. Not much has changed in between. So the River Road Bridge, since we've met, and Kevin can help me out here, we've had one last meeting. We're getting some feedback from the engineer and some numbers, and we're really crunching things for fixes to Lull Road, fixes to the original fix, as well as funding for I guess we've elected for a 60-year fix, or a,
We're gonna.
Well, we
rent-
haven't elected to anything
No,
yet.
Of course
No,
not,
no.
no, no.
I mean,
this-
I
I mean, there was two options on the high end that we had to do to
Yes,
meet with the
they're
state,
going to-
so.
There are two,
And we were gonna
we're
focus
down
on
to
those.
two recommendations. Let me start over. First of all, the repairs to get the bridge upgraded from the 6-ton back up to an E2. That work is scheduled to happen in March. We are having another working meeting on Friday to outline a very specific schedule and costs to the board, so that you know we have a line item right now. We're hoping to come in well below that line item, and that would be to use a third-party contractor recommended by the engineer. We don't think that they're, first of all, available, and second of all, we have created a means and methods to do it essentially ourselves by hiring a certified welder. So that is well underway.
Just remember, that all has to be approved by the board. That-
Right.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
we're
okay.
creating a plan
yeah.
Okay.
to submit to the board.
Well, you said there was a date, there was a tentative
Well,
date, and
no,
I just wanna.
our goal is to have it to the board the first week of January to approve, so that we can move forward.
That's fine.
With a tentative start date of March 1st,
Okay,
okay?
all right, no, that's fine.
We pretty much are just trying to go as early as we can so that we have.
Oh,
at
absolutely,
least-
so we,
Trying to line
so we
someone
get a
up.
seat, right.
And reasonable amount of weather. Okay, we don't think it's feasible to start anything in January and February.
No.
So that's where the March date came from. Second is that there are a few options, two options basically, for the Low Road, both of which we feel we can perform. One is a slip sleeve poly inside of the existing culvert as a repair. The second one is to place a concrete bottom on the existing culvert. Both are feasible and both can probably be done in-house. So that's a huge cost savings to the taxpayers also, and makes the whole swapping Wall Road, Four River Road.
Very
just
viable.
Very, very viable. We have not, we feel comfortable with the money we have right now earmarked to pull them both off, but we won't know that until
Obviously, the day.
the fat lady sings, right? So, but that's all moving forward. It really should give a shout out, or at least acknowledgement, to both Frankie Bolton and Chris Bolton. They've attended every meeting. They have brought information to the meetings that's helped us move forward, and been very proactive and supportive with little to no criticism to, i.e. the board and/or the town for the situation, which I applaud them for that. Because if anyone could be yelling and screaming, it could be them.
Well, I think it's we want to thank everybody that's serving on that subcommittee, obviously.
Yeah, they're taking time out, getting here.
For taking time out and getting wheels in motion and ideas rolling, so.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean that we were gonna get a plan, I meant,
Well, it sounded like there was a date
pulling
set, I'm like,
something
whoa,
together
hey,
to bring,
whoa.
no, we're pulling it together to bring
Yeah.
to you,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
our plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some feasibility issues, and that's what we're trying to
Yeah, yeah.
square away, make sure that we can meet DES standards and be doing it ourselves, right?
Right,
So, yeah, it's,
which is a fine line to run, obviously.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
So your rental ordinance, there is some comments that were made and some cleaning up that's probably gonna be done.
Needs to be done, yeah.
And then, I guess at your next meeting or whatever, you're gonna have to decide whether to put on the
Yep,
ballot or not.
I think that's valid.
CBA, we have to have a final product TA'd, which is tentatively agreed upon by next Friday. That's why, we have some information, Kevin went to the last meeting and I went to the last meeting, that we would just like to make sure you're on the same page with. That's why I'd like to do it non-public,
Okay.
because it is non-public.
It's negotiation
Right,
concepts.
the possible restructure, obviously I laid this out before and I didn't change the date. We still need to think about that. I don't know if the big rush or how you want to do it before town meeting or what your thoughts might be. I guess we can talk about that Thursday if we want to,
Okay,
because we're going to be sharpening pencils, looking at things.
yes, we are.
Evaluation forms, I couldn't remember, did we finalize what she provided?
I don't think we ever did. I don't think we ever finalized it.
I didn't
We-
think so
We did
either. I
receive it,
hunted
but
high
I
and
don't,
low.
I don't remember ever actually giving it the nod.
Right, because we'll need to do them, I think we established February 1st.
Yeah, I think that was the plan.
Right. And you might, February 1st, February 4th is town meeting, so.
Right.
Do we have to vote on accepting that?
Well, I think the board has to be unanimous in using it. Maybe not motion, but definitely, I mean, we said, yep, thank you, and we walked away. We never even discussed it per se, or, not that I remember anyways, or gave it a nod or anything like that.
No.
Yeah,
So-
I reviewed it the last time, picked up on a couple of typos. I think it's hands above what we had. It was a collaboration, which I think is great. It didn't just come from a single source.
Right.
It is definitely generic enough that it works across the board for us, which is also great, because we don't need
Right.
6 different levels of evaluation forms.
Right,
since,
correct.
This is a difficult process to stay on top of anyway. So personally, I've started a file, and I have it in the file, and I'm getting ready to stock in stuff behind it come February. So I'm okay with it. But
I'm okay with the review form as well. I just know we never talked about it.
Because, we need to
John,
talk about
good
it,
feeling?
because I think
Okay.
the expectation would be to have Jason
Review his.
do the reviews for them. Okay.
And I think, again, I think that that's okay, because he has worked with all of them.
Yep.
It's not like it's a fresh face, not knowing anybody.
Sure.
I don't know what the rest of the board feels, but.
Right.
Fine with me.
Yeah, he's been there I think he said 4.
And just to let you know, there have been some people that have stepped forward interested in filling at least some of the need we have at the transfer station.
Yeah, which, that's what I want to talk about that non-publicly.
Yeah, so that's been, that's, again, positive in respects to the fact that, we've all been in fear that nobody wants to go to work, right? So we're gonna be left with,
Well, I don't think we're the only ones in that fear.
permanent voids. But there are people that are acceptive of and ready to step to the plate for us, which is great.
Yeah. We did the budgets tonight. Obviously, you know my schedule. Town hall, these haven't changed. I know, Kevin and I talked about finishing up and putting out to bid the town hall bathroom.
Yes.
I haven't put it out to bid yet.
No.
I think it kind of got,
Do we know what the rough number was gonna be?
No,
And the reason I say that is because I personally, I'm just one member, don't want to touch that reserve fund for building maintenance at all. Zero, do not
Oh,
want to
no,
touch.
you still got money there from Milton Hall.
Correct.
right, and that was what when we were looking at finalizing the scope of work, it was bring them both up to,
The trustees.
replace the fixtures, don't,
ADA,
yeah, try to
yeah.
get them as close, because of, and we really will not know until, the fixtures are they're very conservative, okay? They're a step up from residential, off the shelf, the next level up, but they aren't,
They aren't
something-
full-blown
They are
commercial.
something that we'd be putting in John Stark, right? Okay, so it's really, very straightforward. One of the loopholes or problems that we said that we would have Romeo do the oversight of it, and it's just getting him over so he understands the scope of work that he's gonna be overseeing. I made one request of them before the holidays and reminded Naomi that I need him to grab that piece of paper and get over there and make sure he understands
Take a look, yeah.
what he's gonna be undertaking and make sure he doesn't have a problem with it. And meanwhile, get it out to bid, because we do have tentatively another date out there of April 1st to try to get that building back up and running. So it gives us effectively,
Now, maybe.
yeah, with any luck.
With any luck.
The project, for someone that's fairly proficient, is probably a 3 to 4 week project.
Oh, no, yeah.
the chimney, did
Jimmy,
those bids come
bids
in?
are in, Clay is away for the holidays, he's returning on January 3rd.
Okay,
I spoke to him just before he left,
okay.
and I'm going to meet with him upon his return, just to make sure that when he comes here, it's as clean of a presentation as he can get. But there's a couple alternates just relative to the architectural features. We actually can get that same 1912 brick that goes
Okay.
around.
Nice,
Yeah, we found it.
Wow.
We found it up in Maine from a company called Spalding Brick.
nice.
We can get that brick, so we could put it back.
To historic,
Original.
correct, nice,
Yeah.
nice. My question is, where was that money gonna come from? I understand the other one, Mildred Hall, but where was that gonna come from?
Well,
And the reason I say that, is that something we should add to the list?
yeah, I don't know what the numbers are.
Right, and I don't either, but I'm just thinking,
I have a rough idea, and with doing it right, we're gonna be in the 12 grand range.
Better than I thought.
and that's.
Oh, no, the high number that I know of is the numbers run all the way up to 22. But I cross-checked their bid proposal, and they've hit every line item. So the high is up at 22. It appears right now the low, again, round numbers, 12. But that is without that alternate, that customized brick.
Oh.
So that would be a separate dollar figure for us to decide, okay, we want to spend the extra $1,500 on these.
On the 1912 brick.
5 feet of brick. I don't know what the number is, actually.
Right, but just throw a number at the
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
I'm just wondering if that would be something we should do out of the year end, because again, I don't wanna touch that building fund because it's so
No,
low.
but you're gonna, at some point, we're gonna have to put some money in it. We saw what happened
Right,
this weekend, there's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
things.
yeah,
I think, you know, things aren't getting any younger,
no,
um,
no.
you know,
But my-
and without the maintenance getting in place,
But my
we're
question-
just like,
so-
what's gonna happen?
So another question I have, and I know it's, I know what that, those funds have been used for before, is it against the law for us to earmark money to put in there? in that
Is it
fund?
get what?
Is it against the law for us to earmark money to put in there?
Earmark money to put in there.
Purchase order money out of our budget from this year to put into that CRF?
Yeah, I don't think you could do that. You
Correct.
can do you can purchase things, but I don't think it's,
I don't
can
think
be
I don't
encumbered
think we
to
can
move
put in,
money.
right. I didn't think we could,
right.
just wanted to verify.
I think we probably should put a warrant article, put some money back in.
Absolutely, we have to. That was,
Looking at, we've talked about the list at the town hall, just look at the town hall list.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
We're not-
closed the building and it's just gonna crumble if we don't
do something.
start doing something.
Right, we did a
and
little
that's the
bit,
wrong
but we need
thing.
to do more.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it needs maintenance. We need a roof on the carriage sheds. There's a number of things that have to happen.
And, I mean, and let's be real, it's great that we have the Mildred Hall Fund, but theoretically, the bathroom update should be from,
Building maintenance.
correct. Granted, thankfully that fund is there, it's just, to me, that's not really what that fund's intended for.
No, and we used it for the doors, if I recall.
We use it for the doors, which is fine, I'm good with that, but, otherwise, no. So,
Yeah, providing the right maintenance to anything you do, it extends the life of it.
Absolutely.
And it minimalizes that big hit.
It's like-
If you wait till the roof's leaking, now you got drywall repair on top of it.
Mhm.
It's just as simple as that. So we have neglected maintenance because of the default budget, and we have some catch-up we have to, and it's gonna serve the taxpayer better for us to get on top of the maintenance that we have.
absolutely, well, it's like never changing oil, never changing your tires on your vehicle,
Yeah, right.
so, but,
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how we could possibly, make a purchase to try to keep some of that money in that fund that we have, avoid. We'll have to take a harder look at this.
yeah. Yeah, I'm just wondering if we should take some of that year-end money, though, and put it towards this brickwork.
Well, I'm just saying, you got a purchase order, and Beth has to, purchase order it out before we get to 1/1/23,
Right, which
We
is,
have to-
which has to be done tonight, basically.
basically.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with
So
it.
what happens is, Kevin, you can encumber funds, and Beth puts out a purchase order.
Sure.
And then what happens is anything that's encumbered that's going to expire this December, of projects we didn't do last year, goes back in. Um, so,
Okay, I have a question for you.
yeah,
So, obviously, if the low bidder on that project has met the criteria of the scope of work, we wouldn't be choosing anyone else but that low bidder. So if we had that number, could we write a purchase order for that amount to that contractor within this fiscal year? If we could pull that off in the next 48 hours, could we do that?
I mean, if you knew what you had for a rough number, we would have to purchase order it somehow.
Well, we'd have to have a meeting and, as a board, approve that.
Right. Right, but I'm just thinking, that I know the name, I mean, I know Clay, I can reach out to Clay. I know the number, it's in my email.
I'm just saying, if you had a number and
Can we then retract that if there was a problem?
we
You just don't
can-
spend it.
We can just don't spend the
You
purchase
just don't
order.
spend it.
Right, that's what I mean,
So it's not like you retract, you just don't spend it.
exactly.
But I just don't, I'm not sure how she does a purchase order.
For
Just
something-
thinking, for somebody that we haven't awarded anything to yet.
Well, we just did it with the generator. We haven't awarded a bid for that yet.
Well, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, so if you had a number,
We threw
I
a
could
number at
tell
the
her
wall,
tomorrow.
and we knew we were gonna have to fix that up.
I guess, the chief just got back to me and said that he wasn't expecting to come tonight.
Okay,
And he said tomorrow or anytime after that, he can make it.
okay.
So I don't know if I forwarded you his list.
Yep, we can go over the list.
And we can go over the list, but I'll
Mm-hmm.
finish this first.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, you're right, you didn't pick we haven't picked a true vendor yet either.
And she didn't
for-
seem to balk at it,
Nope.
so,
There's gotta be a way of doing it. Maybe a one-time purchase is what it's called.
type thing, yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
And she would just,
So would we feel comfortable, Kevin, with saying 15?
Yes, can I tell you tomorrow morning?
No, we need to vote on it
yeah, you
tonight.
have to vote on it
Okay.
tonight.
Okay, hang on.
I mean, if you need a few minutes, take a few minutes, but
Yeah,
just,
we can wait a second.
we need a number tonight.
That's really the last of there's nothing's changed.
Okay.
So if you need a minute to get us a number, we can add it. I have the list going.
Okay. I mean, are you all right with that?
All right, what?
As far as the purchase order out, the number for the brick repair?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
My only fear is that, A, it's going deeper and it's gonna
Well,
start
yeah,
doing roof damage and everything else.
Right.
So, I think it's prudent of us to do that. I'll give you a ride home.
Let's catch it quick.
I'll give you a ride home. I'll give you a ride home. She's gonna take off. But she needs the keys. Oh, wow.
Yeah, carry 15,
Huh?
15?
carry 15.
All right. So, yeah, well,
I hope I'm right.
are you, I hope you're right too. So we're gonna, I mean, you're good with adding 15 for that? The year-end purchase, okay. That's a unanimous, Kevin, 15.
So it's 299, 2, 3.
I gotta get downstairs.
Okay.
So your year-end,
He's
are
going
you taking
downstairs.
off?
Glenn's
Alright.
downstairs, so, yeah. So we'll take a short recess again,
Yep.
because we don't have a quorum.
So, before we make a total, I guess, I'm all set with this. If you wanna go back to the list I gave you that the chief had sent in.
Yep, that's
And then we'll need to just move this
As
for
a
the
number?
year end, yeah.
Okay. Okay, as a number.
I mean, I've got the list going.
Okay.
Here it is. So I sent you the,
Yeah, I gotta go find
year
it.
end
There it is.
request.
Yep. By the chief.
22.
You got it? You do have it. Good. You got the spreadsheet or you got the email?
Hmm?
You got the email, okay.
I got the email, that's all I got.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
so
a
well, there was a
spreadsheet attachment at the
spreadsheet
bottom.
attached.
At the very bottom of the email, there's an attachment.
The spreadsheet
Ta-da.
attached, yeah,
Oh, yeah, right.
you spin it.
You expect me to see that?
No?
I can't read that.
Okay, good. We'll go back to the email.
Where are you?
We're to the chief's
sorry.
email
The chief's email.
for
his-
2023 year-end
for his year-end purchases.
Did
Yeah,
you,
yeah, I have it now. I have it somewhere here. Sorry,
No, you're fine.
trying to find, here he is.
no, I think that's what Beth gave you.
Nope, that's what Beth gave you.
Yep.
This was separate. This is an email this afternoon we got.
Yeah, I printed it. No, it wouldn't be in this pile. Gotta get organized.
Is it up above there?
No. Well, I printed it before I left, so it's,
Right on the printer.
it's gotta be here.
That's something of it.
Yep, there's one piece.
That's part of it.
And there's a second piece.
There you go. Now just gotta spread them out this way.
That's right, we need to tape it together.
Yeah, now you just gotta tape it together.
Yeah.
Cause it's There you go. Now you're cooking with gas.
Well,
So,
got it. Fire
Okay.
away.
so, I don't know if you wanna read the email, you wanna go down through the,
Well, there was a spreadsheet given to us, and there was also an email
Correct.
with a little bit. End of year, I'll just do a quick review of the email. End of year purchase request list is to account for deficiencies in contracts and equipment shortages. The total end of year purchase request is $70,285. This will be encumbered to finance all critical contractual and equipment purchases that will be deficit in the budget if the budget fails next year. The money will not be spent until the vote at town budget is obtained. So if the budget doesn't pass, this is what he wants to purchase. If the budget passes, only 4,500 of the encumbered 70,000 is requested will be needed. For 6 ballistic vests, they're coming a year-end cycle, 3 requested annually in the budget for life cycle purchases. Approximately 7,000 for body-worn cameras, 4,000 for a rifle, $1,000 for handgun, 3,000 for ammunition.
those are the optional
Correct.
needs.
Yes. So now we go to the spreadsheet, which is broken down individually. I'm assuming that the 320 CAC fund is the handgun? I'm assuming? Because that meets it's the same number, $1,000.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, they're just not in the same order, which would have been handy.
Correct. We can get back to that one.
Hang on though at the bottom, so he's broken it down, the bottom are the optionals. Sorry, I.
Yeah, requested items optional,
Printed it this
right.
way, yeah.
The ammunition, the equipment, and the handgun. Okay, so what's the CAC funding request? I couldn't see that in email. I don't see any of that in the,
I can't.
I don't. I don't see that.
Can you join us on a phone?
He said he just got home.
No. It's up to him,
It just-
because we need clarification before I'm okay with spending any money.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
so
we
where's
need
the
per-
budget that Beth gave us? 320 is the line.
320 is the line.
I think I can find it.
Here's the Weare police budget, right here.
Prosecutor evidence collection.
Oh, it should be ICAC.
Oh, ICAC.
It says 320's police prosecutorial evidence collection, and over to the right says 1,000 ICAC
Yeah,
/ blood draws interpreters. So it's gotta be the ICAC,
okay, that makes sense.
okay?
That makes more sense. So I guess we just go down through, line by line? Is that what we want to do?
Yeah, it would be nice just to know what the priority is, right?
No, absolutely.
I mean, that's the biggest thing here. Obviously, we're not going to, I don't believe that every request is gonna be granted, so I'd like to know where the priorities are.
Yeah,
I mean,
Well,
we just
I
start
mean-
picking and choosing.
I guess part of a year-end purchase has always been
a purchase,
that you purchase something in the effort of trying to reduce the proposed.
right.
So I guess what I'm looking at is not, something that, in case the budget doesn't pass.
To me, what he wants us to do is guarantee that he has a proposed budget passed by giving him this money, and I'm dead against it.
Well, I think that's, I don't know if that's an accurate statement.
It might not be an accurate statement, but, how, the rest of the departments probably like this same deal. And I'm dead against it.
So, can I ask you a question, so, for instance, the contractual item dispatch services,
That's something we entered into. That's something that we signed on for, as this board.
Just like, capital area,
Right. Well, capital area was by the taxpayers. They were the ones that voted that one in.
yeah.
So, that's something I'm thinking of is yes, because we entered into that contract. We entered in an agreement.
Which one do you want?
That would be,
345.
345, dispatch services.
Yeah, and it's the same as lawn care or anything else that you entered into this year, Avatar.
Right.
right?
I mean-
That's why I flagged that one, because that seems like it's,
But I mean, we went under the lawn care contracts and whatnot, and we found the money somewhere else within the budget. So why shouldn't he have to do the same thing?
Don't know. I'm only one member.
so, it's the difference between what is accounted for,
And the proposed versus default.
yes,
Proposed versus default.
right? I mean, that's, we all are on the same, I'm on the right page there with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if the budget passes, the idea is.
Not to use the
It's just
encumbered money.
$4,500 short, which is for ballistic vest replacement,
Right.
because that's where the $4,500 is.
Right.
Again, not to kind of, I just want to make sure, so what we agreed upon on the contractual service was an increase of $12,400 to his existing budget
Correct.
in costs.
Yeah.
Correct.
At any time during that, did he agree that he was going to be able to find that within his budget, or was it?
I don't believe that
assumed?
conversation occurred.
It doesn't, this is year 2 of 3.
Right.
So year 1, we found it.
Right.
Same
We
thing-
found it, but there
Same
was,
thing with lawn care.
but it wasn't projected the way that you're discussing it right now to say, you know, if we enter into this, you gotta find it. We never talked about that.
Okay.
Unlike the record storage 321, where we did, I do believe. I believe that was mentioned, that, you know, we're okay with it. That's the records retention offsite.
Yeah.
Is, you know, if that's something
Yeah,
you
it's
guys,
$900 a year.
if that's something you guys wanna do, then find it in your lines.
Yep. There's been numerous occasions that, in presentation, we've approved things that he said that he
He had
was
in his
gonna pay
budget.
for in his budget.
Right.
So,
Personally, that 738 line, I'm okay with that. The ballistic vests, I'm more than okay with that.
Well, it makes sense.
That to me is, we as a board would be negligent if we didn't, you know, if we didn't put that foot forward. Obviously, you know, can't send our officers out without them. So that 4,500, I'm definitely okay with.
so, hang on one second, just,
Yep, no, I'm
The-
pausing.
okay, you're on 738, and then there's 738-1 Shield.
I'm 738, I'm just talking ballistic,
Okay, there's two 738s, and then there's,
I'm just talking the 4 ballistic vests
okay, so
that are expiring.
738A, I'm gonna call that,
Yep, that's fine.
okay? There's A, B, and C, okay?
And I think that's necessary. And to me, that's an equipment purchase.
Yeah, well,
Safety.
3 of them are.
Right. Selectman Osborne? Views?
I'd go with that.
738 in its
The
entirety?
4,500.
You know, 4,500.
Okay. But no shield, no helmets? Because again, to me, that's equipment purchases, right? That's not like 560, which is a membership dues. Right? To me, that's equipment at the bottom.
Personally, I'm okay with equipment purchases, because that's what they are, they're equipment purchases, and I
Mhm.
see that's what year-end buys are for. This is equipment that has to be replaced,
Right, 738s, all in entirety.
yeah, and
Mhm.
it's sort of mandatory. The next one, John, while you're thinking about that, while you weigh in on those two, second, what I'm calling 738B and C, is the vehicle fuel. We just approved a number for vehicle fuel based on our,
To fill up.
It's an estimate.
But that was to fill up, right?
yeah.
So
but we
that's
just
to
did it
fill up, yes, the
The
tanks
tanks.
down there.
At
yeah.
DBW,
Mm-hmm.
that 15 grand.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a fuel where they fuel it at DPW, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, never mind, I'm moving on from that one.
yeah.
I don't think it's meant for membership dues, but that's,
No, I'm looking at 615, 617. the body-worn cameras. To me, those cameras have proven their weight exponentially year after year after year. I think we'd be amiss to not cover that, the body-worn camera stuff. I mean, because we all know, and we as a board have received reports from the previous chief and this chief as far as incidents where there was complaints lodged, unfounded, resolved, et cetera. I think we need, I would be in support of both of those lines.
When you say that, are you looking to the deficit between proposed and default numbers?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes,
I am.
I am.
okay.
I don't feel software is part of a year-end purchase.
Software, no, hardware, which is why we asked for server.
Correct.
Yep.
Which I think is 616. It doesn't look like they're purchasing in the notes. It says repairs, dog lookup, Zoom shift, police one. So to me, it's all software.
Yeah, I think it's software.
On the evidence recovery storage, that was not accounted for in his other budget, but he went ahead and did it.
Which one's this? Which line?
I'm sorry, 431.
Yeah,
Yeah, we didn't even know about that until,
$318 a month for 2 more storage units.
yeah, we didn't even know about that. Well, we already are renting 2 bays. Right.
And he just reported to us that he double-checked to make sure that there wasn't any
A better rate in town.
better rate in town, which I
I
didn't,
think he moved to a different place.
I didn't remember requesting
remember.
that, but
Well, again, I mean, we gotta,
without explanation, I'm not in favor of that one. So since I don't have explanation, I'm not gonna side with that. Dues
Okay.
of membership.
and to me, 324, if the default budget passes, we still have, I believe, the 78,000 in there for the prosecutor line. Is that correct?
Yeah, which we haven't been using.
Well, I mean, it's been allocated other ways,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah. Well,
So-
we're working within the budget, let me put it that way.
right. So, while there may not be a particular 324,
Yeah, it's been, so it was,
did we reduce that?
no, it hasn't been used. I mean, we haven't had approved budget.
Yeah, but we must have reduced it somewhere along the lines, because it's not 78,000 anymore.
Yes, you're right. Well, a proposed is a proposed, because you had a contractual agreement with an attorney, and now you're doing it between
Yeah.
someone in Goffstown and our own staff.
Yeah, but I thought we had a line when we were contracted to the other person for $78,000.
You did, that goes away, though, when the contract ended.
Oh, I didn't know
Just
that.
like, yeah,
I didn't know that evaporated. I thought that stayed in there for, oh, excuse my,
because when you got rid of that contract,
okay. Then
gets rid
I'm
of that 78.
misspeaking then. I think we make up, again, we're kind of bouncing around here, but on 610, which is the ammunition, police supplies, there's a request to go up $3,000, or $3,000 for ammunition. It appears that that line item, that's just, I guess it's an optional request.
What number is that ammunition on the budget?
It's under 610, police supplies.
Supplies.
The approved budget's $8,000. They've spent $7,500. And it says ammunition's 4K going to 5,500. So that's $1,500, and he's asking for $3,000. I would be good with making up the difference, as stated on the budget, the 1,500. Myself. I don't know what the other one's feelings are.
Well, that's a one-time purchase, so that would fit within
The one times.
yeah, fits within the,
Right, but again,
it's not going away.
the explanation on the spreadsheet says ammunition's 4K going to 5,500. So that's $1,500.
Right.
Yeah.
So you wanna do 15, the difference?
I would be okay with 1,500. I don't know about the rest of the board.
On which one, 610?
This is 610, which is on the additional.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
He's saying 15 versus 3.
yeah, because the budget packet we got says 1,500 increase, it's going to 5,500. So I'd be good with covering the increase for ammunition. I mean, they've got to qualify, they got to use their stuff to be experienced with it.
So with 615, 617, the 3 and 738, and the 1,500, 610,
$19,811.
I have 17.
$19,811.
What'd you say?
$19,811.
I
You
have
sure?
17,233.
She has 17,233.
So I have 49,
That's for
68.
610, 615, 617, and 738.
So I have 615 for
Yeah,
49,
610, you were doing 1,500.
John, do you have 4968 for 615?
Which one?
615,
615, I got 6786.
No,
the difference.
no. I thought the difference was 4968.
Yeah, it is.
That I have.
Yeah, the difference is 4968. See the third column?
Okay.
That makes sense?
So then I added that plus the 3,900 for 617. Then I added the 2740
Right,
for 738A.
and the 3 grand.
Then I did actually I did 4125 for the two of them.
Yep,
And then 1,500. Came up to 17,233.
the only one I still have in question is the dispatch services, especially if it's something that the board approved.
The board entered into that agreement a year or two ago. That was when we were talking about the capital area move at that time.
Yeah,
But we as a board entered into that.
yeah, I think it was still spilling over when I first started.
Yep. And then, the other thing that I would wanna fund is the TASER stuff, 12 and 13, 612, 613.
Yeah, it was just.
I had a very good explanation there by,
Keep going, I might as well give them it all.
no, that's not my plan. No, I had a really good explanation, by Corporal Muse when I did the walkthrough.
Yeah.
On the difference between the two, and I think there's a lot of benefit to to the newer style, plus the fact of the support, so,
Oh, yeah, the newer one is apples
Yep.
and oranges from the old one.
absolutely.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get that presentation too.
Yeah, so,
I'd much rather be shooting the second one.
yeah, oh, absolutely. So,
Seriously,
yeah, if you looked at the two of them, it is apples and oranges.
and you can't mess up.
You
which
can't.
is the nice part.
Right, so, I would be in favor of the TASER equipment, 612 and 613.
The difference.
The difference, correct. Which is full boat because he doesn't have lines.
Mm-hmm. The only thing with dispatch is like, fire department has lawn care, we have lawn care, we entered into it 2 years ago as well. Cemetery, and we have to find a difference.
No, well,
Somewhere.
yeah, no, it's understandable.
But the other thing too is keep in mind that CALIA, the default is 85.
Yeah, that's fine. what are we thinking about the tasers before we get carried away?
I added them.
Okay. I mean, is the board okay with adding those 2 items?
Yeah, again,
I know which one I'd want to have in my hand.
yeah, I think it's an equipment purchase, again, falls
Yep.
under an equipment purchase, which is the purpose of this. It's equipment that is needed for their overall protection of the officers and minimizes the
The
liability related to the other.
yeah,
It's a better piece of equipment, for sure.
much better, much better. So,
So,
I would be okay with it at that, for the tasers, I would be okay with.
but I don't see anything else on there that grips me.
No.
No.
So
So
at
what is your grand total?
26,583.
I'd like to know what percentage that is of the,
Initial number?
yeah, of the, where, per department, right?
Oh, well, I mean, it's not quite 50%,
Yeah.
it's probably 40%.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good.
So your grand total of 2022 is 132,882.23.
And that's with the brickwork, the generator,
That's with the chim,
everything
that's
else.
with the Lisbeth gave you, along with the generator at 15, the boiler repairs at 36, salt at 3,600, salt at 31,688, chimney for the library at 15, and police at 26,583.
Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Where did I put that? There it is, right there. I feel comfortable with that number. Does the rest of the board?
Yeah.
What's the total figure?
132,
One third,
132, 882, 23.
Is the total, what that quoted us was?
260.
that's about half of it.
Half of it.
But that fills the salt shed, it fills
Yeah.
it fills the petroleum,
Fuel,
the fuels.
about 127 is left.
Yeah, it fills, I mean, and it fixes this, fixes that,
Yeah.
fixes across the way. I think we're getting a lot of bang for that buck,
I think we had to.
I think, myself.
And it satisfies the need of a major department.
Yeah, and we.
As far as their equipment.
Right.
Okay, I'm good.
Selectman Osborne?
First.
Okay.
All set.
I got a nod on him, yep.
Police.
23.
At some point, it just looks like, and again, and this was encompassed in the walkthrough that we did, that water system. I don't know when the last time it was checked, serviced, et cetera.
So every year, Second Wind comes out and checks the RO system.
Okay.
They do an annual repair, annual
Okay.
inspection.
It doesn't look like it's been touched in
Okay.
years, by the looks of it.
Okay.
We'll go down, we can go down and take a look at it, and I'll show you what I mean, but it doesn't look like it's been touched in years.
In the woman's bathroom?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't go down there.
I'll show you what I mean, so.
It's actually a really
It's a,
well-lit, tidy place.
yeah, it's got a lot of light in it, that's for sure.
It is, it's,
Yeah,
it was.
well, once
when you
the
open-
power is back on,
Yeah, when you open the door,
we can see
looks
it.
like someone just vacuumed in there.
And like Kevin and I said, had we known, we probably would open the doors up to the place so we get some heat in there. So, but,
Luckily.
all right, that brings us to
I-
correspondence of the business.
Make a motion for that?
Huh?
We gonna
Do we
make a
need,
motion
do we
for
need to
that?
move the year-end purchase?
It would probably be just as well.
I'll move that we, purchase order, or is it encumber? What is the proper term?
We purchase order out of the 2022 year-end money.
$132,882.23 for year-end purchases. Is there a second?
Second,
Moving second, all in favor? Yes.
yes.
Could you put a copy of that in my box sometime?
Yeah, we'll neaten it up.
Brings us to correspondence, other business. Other business, the services for Weare 4 to 7 tomorrow, and then there's a funeral on Friday as well. The wake
11 o'clock.
the wake is tomorrow. I didn't get the exact time.
Yep,
But,
11 a.m.
okay.
Friday.
Okay. I don't think I had anything else. Denise talked about that email we got receiving the facilities inventory. Some of it's looking pretty low, low grade, so we'll have to discuss that at some point, but
What email was that?
She sent it
she
late.
sent about,
Oh, yeah.
3:30 this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it came in to me at 5:48 PM.
right, so,
Yeah, okay, I haven't even looked at that.
okay. All right, other than that, I didn't get anything.
So we had one, I had one through the storm.
Yep,
On my email, it came through the website. Someone had an issue when, Friday, yeah. The water was so busy that it was rushing down through, and someone above her on Grandview had been logging, and it took one of the logs and got stuck in the driveway.
oh, yes,
culvert.
yes, we did get that email, yeah,
So, I called Jason, but
Mhm.
Sherry had also called Jason.
okay,
So I got it on my phone
It
and
was taken
called
care of.
Jason, and they ran the backhoe up there to get things unplugged,
okay.
because water was flowing pretty well
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
under.
is she satisfied?
Oh, yeah, she sent back a very nice,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay,
She said, I don't know who to thank, but for the quick service.
okay.
But Sherry called Jason
Sherry called
direct?
Jason, and I had called Jason, because I got the email. The email comes to my phone,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but we got it taken care of.
Yeah.
She was very happy and very thankful.
Okay. I mean, again, other business correspondence, I think just again, another pat on the back to our emergency services, all of them.
yeah. Now, we do, in the meeting before last, the Pratts, who have visited us a number of times, gave us a very specific list of
Questions?
questions they wanted us to address. Are we working on trying to?
So I was gonna, Laura had done some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Romeo and her had met. I listened in, I met with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some of them that Laura could answer. We could forward that to her. What she can't, we can try to find here for answers.
Okay.
Because it's very chronological, very nice job on the list.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think it, and like Kevin says, I think it
Yes.
requires response, so.
Yeah, I just want, if nothing else, if we can pick through the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 direct questions they ask, and if we can answer 3 of them and let them know that the other 3 are pending.
Okay.
Then we can at least
And at
satisfy
least-
the
yeah.
questions.
Yeah, no, they've been patient.
Satisfy the request,
They've
right?
been extremely patient, and
Mm-hmm.
it sounds to me like the neighbor is testing the waters on all fronts, right?
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended, based on the location. But, okay, good. Yeah, that was the only note I made following last week's. Oh, update,
Anything?
update on
You got anything?
the block grant money
Nope.
and the municipal bridge,
I do, but I think we're
three
gonna.
twenty-six.
Yeah,
I'd be guessing if I meant to ask her.
Yeah.
yeah. The two,
To see if
the
we
two
got it.
funds, two
I
fundings,
can't-
Yeah,
the bridge and the roads.
Yeah, I can't remember if we got them or not, I'd have to ask.
Yeah, the highway block grant and the municipal.
There was two separate, we did the public hearing
Right.
for. I knew we got one, I didn't think we got the other yet.
Okay, because I thought we were, I think I was gonna turn into some discussion about the funding, that's all.
Yeah, I'm just following up on it. It's one
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah, yeah.
This is September 26th is the last thing.
Yeah.
Last time I heard.
It floats by, you gotta grab it while it floats by, right?
Well, I made a note and stuck this someplace where I find it.
So,
My secretary's not doing a great job at home. This is one thing I do miss about when I had my business, because
yeah,
someone else took care of all that.
somebody else kept
paperwork.
track of all this for you.
Yeah, I could just
Yeah,
ask.
now you got nobody to do it, look in the mirror, right?
Where did you put that?
Yeah, look in the mirror now. Anybody else have any other correspondence, other business?
No.
I know.
Okay. A and C, Emily? Or is, you wanna do the negotiations first, is that would be,
It's,
that'd be E, right?
no, it's still A and C, it's same thing.
I thought there was another one for
Well,
negotiation.
when we meet, we don't have to post a meeting, cause it's E with council. Like when
right.
we meet with him
Yeah,
and we do
okay.
negotiating.
All right, so it's A and C. All right, move to go non-public under RSA 91A3, Roman numeral 2, A and C. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, roll call, yes?
Yes.
All right, we'll be adjourning after the short non-public. Thank you.
Good night,
Happy New Year, see you in
Yeah, Happy New
2023.
Year.
I'm gonna get a drink of water.
Yep, let me just log off.